They gave my seat to the woman my husband once loved, not a random chair, not a harmless mistake, but my place at his father's birthday table, beside my husband, under the chandelier where everyone could see I had been replaced. Nathan looked at me like I was the problem for noticing. I did not cry. I did not raise my voice. I only slid my wedding ring off beneath the white linen tablecloth, dropped it into my clutch, and made sure the gift box in my hands stayed perfectly level. Inside that box were the divorce papers Nathan had refused to believe I would ever use. They gave my seat to Elise Park before I even walked into the ballroom. I knew it from the way the room quieted when I stepped past the double doors. The Whitmore family never went completely silent. They whispered, they judged, they laughed softly behind crystal glasses and folded napkins. Silence meant someone had made a mess so obvious that even their money could not make it elegant. The ballroom at the Langford Hotel looked exactly as I had designed it, ivory roses in low arrangement so guests could see across the tables, amber uplighting against cream-paneled walls, a string quartet near the balcony, playing the old jazz standards Richard Whitmore loved, gold-rimmed chargers, menu cards pressed in linen paper, a 5-tier bourbon vanilla cake in the far corner, waiting under a glass dome. Richard's 70th birthday was supposed to look effortless. It did not look effortless because it was not. I had chosen the hotel, I had negotiated the wine minimum, I had approved the floral revisions when Celeste changed her mind 3 times, I had paid the deposit when Nathan said his business account was between cycles, I had even found the watch Richard had admired in an auction catalogue and had it restored. That watch was not in the gift box I held, not anymore. I paused near the entrance and looked toward the head table. My name card was gone. The ivory card that should have read Ava Whitmore had been replaced by one that read Elise Park. It sat to Nathan's right, in the place a wife would sit. Elise sat behind it in a champagne silk dress, her dark hair pinned in an effortless twist, her hand resting lightly on the back of Nathan's chair as if the seat beside him had been waiting for her all along. Nathan was laughing at something she said. My husband's laugh was low, careful, polished, the kind of laugh he used when investors were watching, the kind he had stopped using with me 2 years ago. Beside Elise, Celeste Whitmore lifted her chin and saw me, her smile tightened into something practiced. There you are, she said, crossing the room with a glass of white wine in one hand. Ava, darling, we were wondering if traffic swallowed you. I looked at the watch on my wrist. I'm 8 minutes early. Celeste's smile did not move. Of course, always precise. She leaned in as if to kiss my cheek, then stopped short when she saw the gift box. Is that Richard's present? Yes. Wonderful. He'll be so pleased. Her eyes flicked toward the head table, then back to me. She had already decided how this would go. I could see it in the softening of her mouth, the way she used before asking me to absorb something ugly and call it family. There was a small seating adjustment, she said. I looked past her shoulder at Elise. A small one. Elise flew in unexpectedly. Richard was so touched. You know how fond he is of her. I remember. Celeste's eyes sharpened. She has known this family for many years. So have I. A guest nearby turned his head. Celeste noticed and lowered her voice. Ava, please don't make this difficult. Tonight is about Richard. Then why is my seat about Elise? Her fingers tightened on the stem of her glass. It is one chair. It is my chair. It is a birthday dinner, not a courtroom. That was almost funny. I had spent the morning in a law office. A waiter passed behind us carrying champagne. His eyes cut down to the gift box, then away. Staff always noticed more than guests thought, especially at events where rich families mistook politeness for invisibility. Where did you move me? I asked. Celeste turned slightly and pointed with her glass. Not the second table, not even the third. A place card with my name sat at a round table near the service doors, between Celeste's yoga instructor and an elderly cousin who had once asked me if Nathan had married me for tax reasons. From there I would watch Elise sit beside my husband. From there I would watch Richard toast family while I sat like a vendor who had accidentally been fed. I felt something inside me go still, not numb, not broken. Still, there is a difference. Numbness is what happens when pain is too large. Stillness is what happens when a decision becomes simple. Nathan finally saw me. For half a second, his expression changed. Not guilt, not panic, irritation. He was annoyed that I had arrived before he could manage the situation into something harmless. He stood, adjusted his cuffs, and came toward me with his public smile. "Ava," he said, warm enough for anyone listening, "you made it, I was invited." His eyes darted to his mother. "Of course you were. Was I invited as your wife or as the event planner?" His jaw tightened. Celeste made a small sound. "Ava." Nathan stepped closer. His cologne touched me first. Cedar, bergamot, expensive restraint. "Can we not do this right now?" he murmured. "What are we doing?" "You know what I mean." "I know exactly what you mean. You want me to smile." His eyes hardened. "I want you to be reasonable." There it was, reasonable, the word men like Nathan used when they had done something cruel and wanted the woman they hurt to make it easier for them. Elise approached before I could answer. She moved with graceful concern, one hand touching the pearl bracelet at her wrist. "Ava," she said softly, "I hope this doesn't feel awkward." I looked at her. She was beautiful. I had never denied that. Elise had the kind of beauty people described as delicate because they mistook sharpness for fragility. Her eyes were large and dark, her smile careful, her posture soft enough to invite protection. She looked at the gift box in my hands. "Oh," she said, "is that for Richard? Nathan told me you always choose the perfect gifts." Nathan's face flickered. I smiled. "I try to match the occasion." Elise tilted her head. "I really didn't mean to take your place." "You took it anyway." Her lashes lowered. "Celeste insisted," she said. "Richard would want me close. I didn't want to cause tension." "Then you could stand up." The air around us tightened. Elise's mouth parted just enough to look wounded. Nathan moved instantly. "Ava," he said. "Enough." I turned to him. "Enough. This is embarrassing." "Yes," I said, "it is." He exhaled through his nose. "Elise is a guest. I'm your wife." "Then act like it." The words landed cleanly. No one gasped. That would have been honest. Instead, several people pretended not to hear. A man near the champagne tower stared into his drink. Paige, Nathan's younger sister, stood near the bar with two friends and smirked as if the evening had finally become entertaining. I looked at my husband. For 9 years, I had known the shape of Nathan's face better than my own. I knew the small scar near his eyebrow from a college rowing accident. I knew the crease beside his mouth when he lied. I knew the way he looked down when he wanted to appear calm but was actually losing control. He was looking down now, not because he regretted hurting me, because I had not lowered my voice fast enough. I shifted the gift box to my left arm and reached under the edge of the cocktail table beside me. My phone was already recording from inside my clutch. I had started it in the elevator after Matteo, the hotel banquet manager, sent me the revised seating chart with an apology. "Mrs. Whitmore, I'm sorry. We were instructed by Mr. Whitmore's office to move your seat." I assumed you knew Mr. Whitmore's office, not the hotel. Not a mistake. I had taken a screenshot before I stepped into the ballroom. I turned to Elise. "Enjoy the seat." Her relief came too quickly. "Thank you for understanding." I didn't say I understood. Nathan leaned closer, his voice flat. "Go sit down, Ava. Go sit down like a child, like staff, like a wife who had been trained to know that public peace mattered more than private dignity." I looked toward the service door table. My place card sat beneath a floral arrangement that blocked half the view. I could almost admire the efficiency of the insult, far enough to remove me, close enough to watch me accept it. I walked to that table. Every step felt watched. I did not stumble. I did not look back. I set the gift box carefully at my feet, pulled out the chair, and sat between Celeste's yoga instructor and cousin Martin, who blinked at me through thick glasses. "Ava," he said, "didn't expect you over here." Neither did I. The yoga instructor, a woman named Bryn, glanced toward the head table and winced. "Is everything okay?" "No," I said. She blinked. People always expected women like me to lie politely. I unfolded my napkin and placed it on my lap. The string quartet shifted into something softer. A waiter poured wine into my glass. At the head table, Elise sat down beside Nathan. He bent toward her when she spoke. Celeste touched Richard's shoulder and whispered something. Richard glanced at me, then away. That was the moment that hurt. Not Nathan, not Elise, not even Celeste. Richard. For years, I had let myself believe he saw me. He was not warm, exactly, but he had a dry kindness that made his silence feel safe. When Celeste criticized the way I hosted Thanksgiving, Richard had asked for seconds of my sweet potato gratin. When Paige joked that I was Nathan's practical choice, Richard had said, "Practical people keep families alive." I had mistaken that for loyalty tonight. He saw me at the service table, he saw Elise in my chair, he chose his toast cards, a fork touched a glass. Celeste rose. "Everyone," she said, glowing under the chandelier, "thank you for joining us to celebrate my extraordinary husband." Applause moved through the ballroom. I clapped once, then I stopped. Celeste gave a speech about legacy, about family, about devotion. She mentioned Nathan's firm, Paige's non-profit, Richard's mentorship, Elise's surprise arrival. She did not mention me. That was fine. I had stopped needing her to say my name. Nathan stood next. He held his champagne with easy confidence. Elise looked up at him like a woman watching a man she had already won. "My father taught me," Nathan began, "that a man's real wealth is not what he owns, but who stands beside him." I looked at Elise in my chair. A laugh rose in my throat. I swallowed it with wine. Nathan continued, "Tonight, seeing so many people we love in one room, I'm reminded how lucky we are. Family is not always simple, it is not always perfect, but it is everything." His eyes found mine for one brief second, a warning, "Behave." I lifted my glass. His expression eased because he misunderstood the gesture. He thought I was surrendering, I was saying goodbye. When the applause began, I stood, not dramatically, not with a chair scrape. I placed my napkin beside my plate, lifted the gift box, and walked toward the head table. This time, people watched openly. Celeste's smile froze. Nathan's eyes narrowed. Elise looked at the box again, curiosity brightening her face. Richard sat straight, touched by the attention, expecting the expensive watch his daughter-in-law had promised him 2 months ago. I reached the head table and placed the box before him. "Happy birthday, Richard," I said. His face softened. "Thank you, Ava." Celeste recovered quickly. "How lovely. Ava has always been thoughtful with gifts." "Yes," I said, "I have." Nathan shifted beside Elise. "Dad can open it later." I looked at him. "No, he should open it now." A small laugh passed through the table. Someone said, "Speech." Richard smiled, pleased and a little embarrassed. He pulled the ribbon loose. The box was matte navy with a silver clasp. He lifted the lid. Inside lay a cream folder, not velvet, not a watch, a legal folder. Richard's smile faded. Celeste leaned in. "What is that?" Nathan stood so fast his chair hit Elise's knee. I heard Elise suck in a breath. Richard lifted the folder halfway out. The black letters on the front were visible to everyone closest to the table. "Divorce agreement." For a moment, the entire ballroom became perfectly quiet. I looked at my husband. He was pale now, not because he had lost me, because everyone could see it. "Ava," he said under his breath, "what the hell are you doing?" I picked up the microphone Celeste had left on the table after her toast. It was still on. My voice moved through the speakers, calm and clear. "I'm giving your father the only honest gift this family has received tonight." Nathan crossed the space between us so quickly that Elise had to pull her champagne flute back to keep it from tipping. He reached for the microphone. I moved it out of his reach. That small motion changed the room. People could excuse a wife being insulted, they could excuse a seating mistake, they could excuse another woman sitting beside a husband if everyone kept their voices soft enough. But a wife refusing to hand over a microphone was harder to smooth into etiquette. Richard still held the folder. His fingers had gone white around the edge. Celeste stood beside him, frozen between outrage and calculation. I could see her trying to decide which performance would cost less. Wounded mother, embarrassed hostess, or dignified matriarch. She chose hostess. "There has clearly been some misunderstanding," she said, reaching for a smile. "Ava, darling, perhaps we should step outside." No, the word was not loud. It did not need to be. Nathan's face tightened. "Put the microphone down." I looked at him. "You told me to act like your wife." His jaw flexed. "So I am," I said. "I'm ending a marriage in the same room where you replaced me." A ripple moved through the guests. It was not a gasp, it was better than a gasp, it was recognition. People glanced toward Elise's place card, then toward mine at the table near the service doors. Elise sat very still for the first time that night. She did not look fragile, she looked alert. "Nathan," Richard said slowly, "what is this?" Nathan did not answer his father. He stepped close enough that only the first row of tables could hear him without the microphone. "You are humiliating yourself," he said. I tilted the microphone away from my mouth. "No, you did that for me." His eyes flashed. "This is not the time. That's what you said when your mother asked me to pay the wine deposit, that it wasn't the time to discuss money. That's what you said when Elise started coming to your office twice a week, that it wasn't the time to discuss old friends. That's what you said when I saw her name on the guest list, that it wasn't the time to be insecure." I lifted the microphone again, but apparently it was the time to give her my seat. Elise stood. "Ava, I really think you've misunderstood," she said. I looked at her. "Sit down, Elise, you're good at taking seats." A few guests made small, involuntary sounds. Paige whispered something sharp to her friends, but she was no longer smiling. Nathan grabbed my elbow, not hard enough to bruise, hard enough to remind me he thought he could move me. I looked down at his hand. "Let go." He did not. "Let go," I repeated into the microphone. Now everyone saw it. Nathan released me. As if burned, Celeste inhaled. "This is vulgar." "No," I said. "Vulgar is moving your daughter-in-law to a service table at a birthday dinner she paid for." The first real gasp came then. Richard looked up. "What?" he said. Nathan turned sharply. "Ava." I met Richard's eyes. The hotel deposit, the floral balance, the bourbon tasting, the string quartet, the cake, the photographer, the custom menu cards, the security fee, all paid from my personal account after Nathan told me the family office was temporarily tied up. Celeste's face flushed. "That is not appropriate to discuss. You didn't find it inappropriate to spend." Richard looked at Nathan. "Is that true?" Nathan's mouth opened, closed. Elise took one careful step back from the head table. There it was again, that instinct for survival. She had enjoyed the seat while it looked like a prize. Now that it looked expensive, she wanted distance. Nathan leaned toward his father. "Dad, not here." I almost smiled. "Not here, always not here. Never in the room where the lie happened, never in front of the people who benefited from it, never before the damage became permanent." Richard lowered the folder slowly onto the table. "Ava, we should discuss this privately. You had that chance." His face tightened. "It hurt me, a little, that he looked disappointed in me. Then it hurt less when I remembered he had watched me sit by the service doors." I placed the microphone back on the table. "I won't ruin the rest of your dinner," I said. "The papers are real. Nathan has my lawyer's number. The gift is yours." I turned and walked away. The ballroom did not return to life behind me. No one started laughing. No forks touched plates. No quartet could cover the sound of a family discovering that the quiet woman had brought receipts. I made it halfway down the corridor before Nathan caught up. "Ava." I kept walking. "Ava, stop." I stopped beside a gilt mirror taller than both of us. In it, I saw us the way strangers did. Nathan in his tailored tuxedo, handsome and angry. Me in a black silk dress, hair smooth, face calm, gift ribbon still caught around one finger. He looked like a man whose evening had been interrupted. I looked like a woman who had finally arrived at herself. "What the hell was that?" he said. "A divorce. You blindsided me at my father's birthday. You replaced me at your father's birthday. For God's sake, it was a seating issue. It was a choice." He dragged a hand through his hair. "He only did that when he forgot to perform. Elise didn't have anyone. Mom thought she'd be more comfortable at the family table, and I would be more comfortable by the kitchen. You know that's not what I meant." "I know exactly what you meant." His voice dropped. "You are acting insane." There it was. I reached into my clutch and stopped the recording. Then I looked at him. "Say it again." "What?" "Say I'm insane again." His eyes flicked to my bag. He understood too late. "You recorded me." I recorded my husband grabbing my arm and calling me insane after moving his former girlfriend into my seat. "She is not my girlfriend." "Former," I said. I used the correct word. He stepped back, breathing hard. "You've been planning this." "Yes." Pain flashed across his face, but it was the offended kind. The kind a man feels when his possession develops a lock. "How long?" he asked. "Long enough to stop being surprised, Ava." The softness in his voice was worse than the anger. I had loved that voice once. I had believed it when it said I was his home. I had believed it when it promised that Celeste's coldness would pass, that Paige's insults were jokes, that Richard's silence was respect, that Elise was history. Then history sat in my chair. No, I said, don't use that tone now. He glanced toward the ballroom doors. We can fix this. You made your point. My marriage is not a point. You're upset. I'm done. You don't mean that. That was Nathan's greatest talent. He heard a woman say a clear sentence and translated it into whether a passing server slowed near us. I recognized him from the tasting. Matteo had assigned him to the family section. He saw Nathan's face and mine, then continued without a word. I wanted to tell him I was fine. I was not fine, but I was leaving. Those were different things. Elise appeared at the corridor entrance, holding Nathan's phone. Your mother is asking for you, she said softly. Of course she was holding his phone. Of course she had followed. Nathan turned. Not now, Elise. She flinched just enough for anyone to see. I'm sorry, she said. I was only trying to help. I laughed once. Both of them looked at me. Perfect, I said. You two deserve each other. Elise's eyes shone. Ava, I never wanted to hurt you. You wanted my place without the guilt of asking for it. Her expression changed for half a second. There she was, not the fragile woman, not the innocent guest. A sharp, angry flash, then it vanished. Nathan, she whispered, maybe I should go. He looked torn. I watched the choice form on his face. It would have devastated me a year ago. That was how I knew I had survived longer than I thought. Stay, he said to her. Then he turned to me. Ava, go home. We'll talk when you calm down. I nodded, not because I agreed, because the recording had caught enough. Good night. Nathan, he stared at me. You can't just walk out. Watch me. I walked through the lobby past the marble fountain and the golden lamps. My heels clicked against the floor. With a clean, even sound. The doorman opened the front door for me. The cold air outside struck my face. I had not realized how hot the ballroom was until I could breathe. My car waited near the curb. I got into the back seat and closed the door before my hands started shaking. The driver looked at me through the mirror. Home, Mrs. Whitmore. I looked down at my bare ring finger. No, I said, Montgomery House. My mother's house, the one Nathan had always called too sentimental to sell when he needed to host clients. There, as the car pulled away from the Langford, my phone lit up. Nathan. I let it ring, then Celeste, then Paige, then Nathan again. I opened my banking app instead. 3 shared cards, 2 family vendor authorizations, 1 recurring monthly transfer to Celeste's household account, 1 automatic payment for Paige studio rent because Nathan had asked me to help just until she got stable. I cancelled the first card before we reached the bridge. I cancelled the second at the red light. By the time the car turned onto my mother's street, the Whitmore family's convenience had begun to die quietly in the dark. My phone buzzed with a text from Celeste. Ava, your card declined for the remaining bar extension. This is extremely embarrassing. Fix it immediately. I stared at the message. Then I typed back 1 sentence. Ask Elise for her seat money. I sent it, turned off my shared location, and called Maria Shaw. My lawyer answered on the second ring. It happened, she asked. Yes. Did he react? He called me insane. Recorded. Yes. Good, Maria said. Then tomorrow we talk about the company loan. I sat up slowly. What company loan? There was a pause. Ava, she said. Nathan's firm has a bridge payment due in 3 business days. The guarantor listed on the private note is you. The car stopped outside Montgomery House. Every window was dark. For the first time all night, I felt the cold reach my bones. Nathan had not only taken my seat, he had put my name under his debt. Montgomery House smelled like cedar, dust, and my mother's lavender soap. The scent hit me the moment I unlocked the front door. I stood in the entryway with my clutch under my arm and my heels sinking into the old runner rug, breathing like someone who had been underwater for years and had only just found the surface. The house was narrow, 4 stories of brick and old wood, tucked between renovated brownstones on a quiet street where people still pretended not to look into one another's windows. My mother had bought it after my father left, back when the neighborhood was still considered impractical. She had painted the door deep blue and told me, never build your life in a place where someone else can change the locks. I had ignored that advice in every emotional way that mattered. Legally, I had obeyed it. Nathan had never been on the deed. He hated that. He had never said it plainly. Nathan rarely said the ugliest thing plainly. He said the house was ours in every way that matters, he said. Paperwork was cold. He said marriage should be about trust. Then he invited investors to dinner here because the house made him look rooted. tasteful, established. The hallway light flickered when I turned it on. I almost laughed, even the wiring knew I had waited too long. I took off my heels and walked barefoot to the dining room. The long walnut table was covered with file boxes I had pulled from storage 3 weeks earlier, after Elise accidentally left her scarf in Nathan's car and he told me I was being dramatic for noticing. 3 weeks, that was how long it took to prepare an exit from a marriage after 9 years of shrinking inside one. I set my clutch on the table, removed my wedding ring from inside it, and placed it on top of the first file. Then I opened my laptop. Maria had already sent an email, subject, Whitmore Studio Bridge note. I clicked. The attachment was a scanned copy of a private loan agreement dated 18 months ago. I recognized my signature before my mind caught up with what I was seeing. Ava Montgomery Whitmore, my hand, my name, but not my memory. I read the first page twice, then the second. The loan had been issued through one of my mother's trust entities to Whitmore Studio Group, Nathan's firm. It was secured against future receivables from the Harborline Civic Center project, the one Nathan had celebrated for months as the contract that would put his firm in a different league. I remembered signing documents that week. Nathan had come home late with Chinese takeout and a folder, routine restructuring. He had said, kissing the top of my head, "You know how Graham gets, he wants spousal acknowledgement on everything." I had been tired. My mother's death anniversary had been that morning. Celeste had called me twice to complain about the florist for Paige's fundraiser. Nathan had sat across from me and said, "I'll handle the details, I just need your signature where the tabs are." Trust is not always a feeling, sometimes trust is a pen in your hand when you are too exhausted to read. I scrolled to the repayment clause, due in full within 10 business days of written demand by lender. Written demand. My name was on both sides of the betrayal, wife and lender, support and liability, useful enough to sign, not worthy enough to sit beside him. My phone vibrated. Nathan again. I let it ring until it stopped, then a message appeared, "You need to come back to the hotel. Dad is humiliated." I stared at the word dad, not "you hurt me," not "I'm sorry." Dad is humiliated. A second message arrived, "Mom is crying. Elise left early because of what you said. Are you proud of yourself?" Elise left early. Of course that was the wound he named. I opened a new folder on my laptop and titled it, Whitmore Exit. Inside it, I made subfolders: marriage, money, hotel, company, Elise, house. I began dragging files into each one: bank transfers, emails, vendor contracts, mortgage statements that proved the marital home Nathan bragged about was actually a trust-owned property he paid nothing toward, messages from Celeste asking me to temporarily cover expenses, Paige's rent receipts, Richard's medical specialist referral paid through my insurance network, screenshots of Nathan telling me Elise was just lonely and asking me not to make her feel punished for coming back. At 1:12 a.m., the doorbell rang. I looked up. The sound echoed through the house. I checked the security camera on my phone. Nathan stood on the stoop in his tuxedo, bow tie undone, hair no longer perfect. He looked up at the camera as if he could charm glass. "Ava," he said, "open the door." I turned the volume up. His voice came through the speaker. "I know you're in there." I pressed the intercom. "Go home. This is my home too." "No, Nathan, it isn't." His face changed. There are moments when the truth hits someone before pride can block it. This was one of them. He looked at the door, then at the windows, then back at the camera. "Are you serious?" he asked. "Yes, you're locking me out." "I'm not locking you out. You were never legally inside." "That is a disgusting thing to say, so go sit down." He stepped closer to the door. "I was trying to prevent a scene. You created one." "No, Ava. You created one when you gave my father divorce papers like a lunatic." I saved the camera clip. Old habits died well when they died documented. "Maria will contact you in the morning," I said. "Maria, the lawyer?" "Yes," he laughed. But it broke halfway through. "This is insane. You don't want a divorce." I filed. "You filed." I signed. "Filing happens next." He stared at the camera, without talking to me. "I tried talking to you for years. You complained for years. That hurt more than I wanted it to because I had not complained. I had asked, quietly, carefully, politely enough that he could ignore me and still feel decent. I had asked why Celeste never introduced me as her daughter-in-law at charity events. I had asked why Nathan took calls from Elise in the bathroom. I had asked why my money was always family money when they needed it, but my opinions were personal problems when I spoke. Each question had been filed under difficult. Now I had filed something of my own. Nathan lowered his voice. Open the door, Ava. Let me in and we can fix this. I looked at him through the screen. What does fix mean? He hesitated. There it was. He did not know. Does it mean you apologize for giving Elise my seat? I asked. He rubbed his forehead. Fine. I'm sorry about the seat. You're sorry about the seat. Yes, not about letting your mother move me away from my husband. His mouth tightened. Not about telling me to act like your wife in front of your former girlfriend, Ava. Not about calling me insane. You recorded me without consent. New York is a one-party consent state. His eyes narrowed. You've become very prepared. No, I said. I've become very awake. He looked away down the street. A cab passed behind him, headlights sliding over his face. Then he said, if you push this, it will get ugly. I almost thanked him. Threats are useful. They end nostalgia. It already was ugly. I said, you just liked it better when I absorbed it. I ended the intercom. Nathan rang again, then he called, then he texted Ava, open the door, this is childish, my father is 70 years old. Do you know what people are saying? You owe my family an apology. I took screenshots of each message at 1:46 a.m. He left at 2:03 a.m. Celeste called. I did not answer at 2:11 a.m. Paige texted, you've always been jealous of Elise because you know she fit us better. I saved that too. Then I slept for 2 hours on the sofa under my mother's old quilt, with the laptop open beside me and the divorce agreement on the table. At 8:30, I walked into Maria Shaw's office in a navy dress and flat shoes. Maria was 52, compact, sharp-eyed, and allergic to emotional fog. She had represented my mother in a contract dispute 20 years ago and sent flowers when she died. When I called her 3 weeks earlier and said, I think I need to understand my marriage on paper, she did not ask me if I was sure, she asked me what he controlled. Now she sat across from me with a yellow legal pad. You look terrible, she said. Good morning to you too. You also look calmer than most people who detonate a divorce at a birthday party. I didn't detonate it, I delivered it. That earned the smallest smile. Maria tapped the loan agreement. We need to discuss this. I don't remember knowingly signing a loan demand clause. You signed it, I know. That makes it harder, not impossible. What does it mean? It means you have leverage, but you need clean hands, no emotional emails, no threats. We proceed formally. You demand repayment according to the terms. If they can't repay, we negotiate security, disclosure, or a controlled exit. Nathan will say I'm trying to destroy him. Nathan can say the moon is a fruit if he wants. We care about documents. I leaned back. His firm depends on that project. Yes. Will pulling the loan hurt employees? Possibly. That is why we use demand as leverage, not a hammer unless he forces it. Ava, listen to me. Maria folded her hands. Do you want revenge or separation? The question sat between us. I thought of Elise in my chair, Nathan's hand on my elbow, Richard looking away, Celeste's text demanding I fix the bar tab, Paige laughing. I want my life back, I said. Maria nodded. Then we make every step defensible. Her assistant knocked and entered with coffee. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Graham Doyle, Nathan's financial officer. I knew Graham only slightly. He was quiet, balding, careful. At company holiday parties, he drank club soda and escaped early. Nathan called him risk-averse in the same tone he used for unimaginative. I answered, Mrs. Whitmore. Graham sounded nervous. It's Ava. Right, Ava. I'm sorry to bother you. Nathan said there was a family misunderstanding and that any communication from your lawyer regarding the bridge note should be ignored until he speaks to you. Maria's eyes sharpened. I put the call on speaker. Graham, I said, did Nathan tell you to ignore my lawyer? A pause. He said the matter was personal. The loan is not personal. No, Graham said quietly. It isn't. Maria slid a notepad toward me and wrote, ask about source representation. I read her note. Graham, when Nathan discussed the loan with investors, how did he describe it? Another pause. As family-backed. Bridge capital. Did he identify me as the lender? No. How did he identify the source? Graham exhaled. As Whitmore family support. Maria's pen stopped. There it was. My money had been laundered into his lineage. I closed my eyes for 1 second, then I opened them. Did you have concerns? Yes. Did you put them in writing? Yes. Nathan had always underestimated careful people. Please preserve all related communications, I said. Maria Shaw will contact you formally. Graham lowered his voice. Ava, yes, I'm sorry about last night. My wife was there. She saw the table. I gripped the edge of the chair. Thank you, I said after we hung up. Maria watched me. That call matters, she said. I know. It also means Nathan has started controlling the narrative. He started last night. No, Maria said. Last night was emotion. This morning is strategy. My phone lit again. Nathan, this time I answered. His voice came fast. What did you say to Graham? Good morning, Nathan. Don't play games. He just called legal, as he should. This is between us. You put my name on your debt. That made it bigger than us. You signed, under false context. You can't prove that. I looked at Maria. She lifted one eyebrow. I said, then you have nothing to worry about. His breath came rough through the phone. Ava, if you go after the firm, you will regret it. You gave Elise my seat at a table I paid for. You should have worried about regret then. This is about jealousy. No, this is about accounting. He was silent for a beat. Then he said, you don't understand what you're touching. Finally, honesty. I understand exactly what I'm touching, I said. The support beam. I ended the call. Maria leaned back. Well, he's awake now. I looked at the divorce agreement on the desk. No, I said, he's uncomfortable. Awake comes later. The first thing Celeste lost was not money, it was convenience. That was why she called before noon. I was standing in the kitchen at Montgomery House, drinking coffee from one of my mother's chipped blue mugs. When her name appeared on my screen, I let it ring long enough to prove to myself I was choosing, then answered. Ava, she said, clipped and breathless. What have you done to the household account? Good morning, Celeste. Do not good morning me. The card on file at Lydia's office declined. Lydia was her cosmetic dermatologist. I looked out the window at the small garden behind the house. The hydrangeas needed pruning. My mother would have done it before winter. I made a note on the pad beside me. I cancelled my authorization. I said. There was a pause. Your authorization. Yes, that account covers family expenses. It covered your expenses. I am your mother-in-law. For now. Her silence sharpened, then she laughed once, coldly. You cannot possibly intend to punish an entire family because you felt slighted at dinner. I held the mug with both hands. It was warm, solid. I was not slighted. I was removed. Don't dramatize. You moved me from the head table to the service doors. Elise was alone. She had my husband. Celeste inhaled sharply. That is a disgusting accusation. It is an accurate seating description. You are embarrassing yourself. No, I'm embarrassing you. That is why you're angry. I had never spoken to her that way for 9 years. I had softened every sentence before handing it to Celeste. I had made myself digestible. I had said I understand when I did not. I had said no problem when there was a problem. I had let her treat my boundaries like a hostess treat. She did not know what to do with the woman who had stopped serving. You listen to me, she said. Richard is devastated. Richard opened divorce papers after letting another woman sit in his daughter-in-law's chair. He can sit with that. He is an old man. He is 70, not helpless. This cruelty is beneath you. No, I said. Paying for people who humiliate me was beneath me. I'm correcting that. Her voice dropped. If you continue this, there will be consequences. There already are. I ended the call. My hand shook after, not during. That felt like progress. I spent the next 2 hours making calls that sounded boring enough to change my life. I cancelled the automatic transfer to Celeste's household account. I removed Page studio rent from my payment schedule. I froze the supplementary credit card Nathan used for family events, which somehow included Elise's welcome back dinner 2 weeks earlier. I emailed the property manager for the apartment Nathan kept near his office and requested a copy of the lease. I had paid the security deposit. The lease, I discovered, listed Nathan as occupant and Whitmore Studio as responsible party, but my personal card had been charged for 3 months. I added it to the folder at 2:15. Maria sent a draft of the repayment demand for the bridge note at 2:21. Nathan texted, "Do not send anything to the firm at 2:22. He added, "You'll hurt innocent people." That message almost worked, Nathan knew. Which doors in me still opened: responsibility, workers, staff, people who had not sat at the head table and laughed. I called Graham. He answered quietly. "Ava, I have a question. I may or may not be able to answer. Will a formal demand destroy payroll this week?" "No," he said. "Payroll is funded. Vendor payments are tight. The issue is the Harborline presentation next Friday. Without proof of bridge stability, the city can request updated financial assurances, so Nathan's panic is about disclosure. Yes, not payroll. No, thank you." He hesitated. "He's telling people you're emotionally retaliating." "I expected that. I don't think he expected you to know the difference between cash flow and project assurance." I smiled without humor. "He taught me by making me pay for both." After we hung up, I approved Maria's letter. Then I changed the locks, not with drama, with a licensed locksmith named Terry who arrived at 4, complimented the old brass hardware, and asked no personal questions until Nathan appeared on the sidewalk halfway through the job. Terry looked at me. "You want me to pause?" "No." Nathan came through the front gate like he still had the right to enter. "What is this?" he demanded. "A lock change." His eyes moved from Terry to the open door. "You can't do that." Terry, bless him, kept working. "I can," I said. "This property belongs to the Montgomery Trust. We're married. We are divorcing. You haven't filed yet. The trust does not require a divorce filing to secure its property." He stared at me. "You are enjoying this." "No, you are. You finally found a way to make yourself important." The words hit, but they did not sink. Maybe because they were too familiar. Maybe because I had finally stopped accepting every wound as evidence. "I was important when you needed money," I said. He stepped closer. "You don't understand the damage you're causing." "I understand the damage I'm stopping." His mouth tightened. "My mother had to leave Lydia's office in front of everyone." "Was your mother sitting near the service door?" His face flashed with anger. "You keep coming back to that chair like it was some great tragedy." "It was a receipt." "What does that even mean?" "It showed me exactly where I stood." He laughed bitterly. "You stood beside me for 9 years. No. I stood behind you. There's a difference." Terry cleared his throat softly. Second lock is done. Thank you." Nathan looked at the new deadbolt as if it had insulted him personally. "You're really doing this?" he said. "Yes." "What about my clothes?" "I packed 2 suitcases. They're in the foyer. You can take them now. Anything else can be arranged through Maria." His face changed. "You packed my things. Some of them. This is my marriage too." "Then you should have protected it." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The street was quiet. A woman walked a golden retriever across the road. Somewhere behind me, Terry gathered his tools. Nathan lowered his voice. "Ava, I'm sorry." I looked at him. He sounded tired, not broken, not ashamed, tired, as if being resisted had exhausted him. "I should have handled the seating differently." He said. "There it is again." "What?" "Differently, not wrongly, not cruelly, differently." His nostrils flared. "You want me to grovel on the sidewalk? I want you to understand that an apology designed to end consequences is not an apology." He looked away. That was the end of the performance. His phone rang. He glanced at the screen and rejected the call. "Is that Elise?" I asked. "No." I waited. His jaw worked. "Yes." I nodded. "You should answer. She may need a chair." He stepped toward me. "Stop." "No." The word came easier now. No. A full sentence, a locked door, a signed document, a card cancelled before someone could spend dignity from it. Nathan took the suitcases because pride would not let him leave without something. He dragged them down the stairs, one wall catching on the brick path. Before he reached the gate, he turned. "My father wants a family lunch tomorrow," he said. "No, he wants to talk sense into everyone. Into me. You owe him a conversation." I gave him a gift. Nathan's face hardened. "Don't be flippant. Don't confuse access with debt." He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, "You'll come. You always come." He left before I could answer. That was his mistake. He still thought my past was a contract. The next day, I did not go to lunch at 12:07. Paige texted a photo. The Whitmore family sat around Richard and Celeste's dining table. An empty chair waited between Nathan and Richard. The caption read, "Still waiting for the adult in the room." I saved the screenshot at 12:19. Celeste texted, "You are making Richard ill" at 12:26. Nathan texted, "This is cruel. Come now" at 12:44. Elise texted me from an unknown number, "I hope one day you understand that love cannot be forced by a legal title." I stared at the message, then another arrived, "Nathan deserves softness after everything he has carried." I took a screenshot. Then I typed back, "He can carry his own bills first." No response at 1:30. The Langford Hotel called. "This is Mateo Ruiz," he said. "Mrs. Whitmore, Ava is fine." "Ava, I wanted to let you know Mrs. Celeste Whitmore's office requested an amended final invoice showing the family trust as pair." I stood straighter. "There is no family trust pair." "I know. The charges were paid by you. I have not amended anything." "Thank you, Mateo. There's more," he said. I stopped moving the seating chart. "Revision was not requested by Mrs. Whitmore, Celeste." "No," he said, "it came from Mr. Nathan Whitmore's assistant." But the note said, "Per Nathan, Elise should be placed beside him. Move Ava wherever there is room." I closed my eyes. Move Ava wherever there is room, not even to a specific table, not even with care, wherever. "Can you send that to my lawyer?" I asked. "Yes, Mateo, yes." "Why tell me?" His voice softened. "Because my mother was moved like that once, at my father's retirement dinner." I still remember her face. My throat tightened. "Thank you," I said after we hung up. I opened the folder titled Hotel and added one more line to the timeline. Then I walked to the front door to test the new lock. It turned smoothly, solid, clean. Mine that evening, at 6:08, the doorbell rang. The security camera showed Elise Park standing beneath my blue door with Nathan's spare key in her hand. She lifted it toward the camera and smiled. "I think," she said, "you and I need to talk woman to woman." Elise held Nathan's spare key like a love letter. She stood on my stoop in a cream wool coat, hair loose around her shoulders, lips painted a soft rose that made her look gentler than she was. Behind her, the streetlights had just come on. The blue door reflected her face in the brass knocker. I pressed the intercom. "That key doesn't work anymore." Her smile faltered only for a second, then she looked up at the camera, eyes wide and wounded. "Ava, I'm not here to fight." "Then you can leave peacefully." "I came because Nathan is falling apart." I said nothing. She tried the key. The lock did not turn. There was a small sound, metal resisting metal. I had not known a failed key could sound so satisfying. Elise looked at the key as if it had betrayed her. Then she slipped it into her coat pocket. "Can we please talk?" she asked. "I think there are things you don't understand." I almost admired her to stand outside a wife's house with that wife's husband's key and claim the wife lacked understanding required a special kind of confidence. I opened the inner door but left the security chain on the outer one. Elise's eyes dropped to the chain. "How dramatic," she said softly. "There she is," I said. Her gaze lifted. "Excuse me." The woman under the silk. She smiled again, but it no longer reached her eyes. "I know you think I'm the villain. I think you're trespassing with a useless key. Nathan gave it to me because he trusts me." "No, Nathan gave it to you because he wanted access without accountability." Her face tightened. "You make everything sound ugly." "I didn't make this ugly." She stepped closer. "Do you know what he told me? He told me he has been lonely for years, that you two became more like business partners than husband and wife." Pain moved through me, not surprise. Recognition. Nathan had always translated my exhaustion into coldness. He had taken the woman who kept the house, paid the bills, hosted his clients, remembered his father's medication schedule, covered his mother's accounts, and called her insufficiently romantic. Elise watched my face. She wanted the wound to show. I gave her nothing. "If Nathan was lonely," I said, "he could have spoken to his wife before handing you a key." "He tried." "No," he sighed. "He avoided. He let me guess." "You don't see him." "I saw him clearly last night." She looked past me into the hallway. Her gaze moved over the old runner, the staircase, the framed black and white photo of my mother near the lamp. "This house," she said, "it never suited him." I laughed. It escaped before I could stop it. Elise's mouth tightened. "What's funny? You came to my house with my husband's key to tell me my house doesn't suit him. He needs space that reflects who he is now. And who is that? A man who shouldn't have to live inside someone else's grief." There it was, not just ambition, Not just romance, resentment. Elise did not only want my chair, she wanted the story changed, she wanted me recast as the heavy wife, the cold woman, the mausoleum keeper, so she could become light. I looked at the photo of my mother, then back at Elise. This house was never grief, I said, it was shelter. For you. Yes, I said, that is why it belongs to me. Her eyes flashed. The old Elise, maybe the real one, stepped through. You think paperwork makes a marriage? No, but it ends one cleanly. She leaned closer to the narrow opening. Her perfume was expensive and floral, the kind of scent that made a room feel curated. Nathan won't let you go, she said. Is that what he told you? He loves me. The words should have hurt more. They did hurt, but they also settled something. There is a cruel mercy in hearing the thing everyone has been arranging furniture around. Then why is he asking me not to divorce him? I asked. Elise's face changed just enough. I smiled slightly. He didn't mention that. He feels responsible for you. No, he feels funded by me. Her expression hardened. You think money is love? No, I think you think proximity is victory. We stared at each other through the chain. Then she said, quietly, you were never really one of them, Ava. You know that, don't you? You were useful, stable, respectable enough. But Nathan was alive before you. He had dreams before you. He had me before you. I felt the sentence enter the house and die before it reached my heart. Because she was wrong about one thing. He had not had her before me. He had had a version of himself he liked better before adulthood demanded bills, loyalty, and truth. Elise was not his lost love, she was his escape hatch. Thank you, I said. She blinked. For what? For saying that clearly. Her eyes dropped to my hand. My phone was there, screen dark, recording. She stepped back. You're pathetic, she whispered. No, I said, I'm prepared. I closed the door. The chain rattled softly between us. For a moment, Elise stood outside in silence, then her heels clicked down the steps. I saved the recording and sent it to Maria. Her reply came 3 minutes later. Useful. Do not engage further. I had no intention of engaging further. Nathan arrived 40 minutes later with flowers, not the cheap kind. Nathan never apologized cheaply. He understood presentation. The bouquet was white peonies and pale roses, wrapped in craft paper and tied with black ribbon. Exactly the kind of flowers that looked sincere to people who had not seen the invoice. I watched him through the camera as he shifted the bouquet from one hand to the other. Ava, he said, please open the door. I did not answer. He rang again, then he called. I answered the phone but did not open the door. I'm outside, he said. I know. Can I come in? No. A pause. I brought flowers. I'm not a hotel lobby. He exhaled. Ava, please. There was something different in his voice now. Less command, more pressure disguised as tenderness. Elise came here, I said. Silence. Then, what? She had your key. Another silence. Longer. I gave that to her months ago, he said, when she was helping with the office archive. It wasn't like that. She tried to use it. She shouldn't have, but she thought she could. He rubbed his face with one hand. The flowers tilted downward. I'll talk to her. No need. I said I'll handle it. You handled my seat too. His mouth tightened. I deserve that. The sentence surprised me. I waited. Nathan looked up at the camera, under the porch light. He looked tired, handsome still, but less polished. The first cracks in a portrait always seem small until the whole frame shifts. I am sorry, he said, for last night, for the seating, for not stopping Mom, for letting Elise think she had a right to be there. My chest ached, not because I believed him fully, because some foolish, grieving part of me had waited years for those exact words. That part moved toward the door. The rest of me stopped it. What do you want? I asked. I want to talk, about divorce, about not rushing. There it is, Ava. No, keep going. Tell me what part worries you most. The marriage ending, or the loan demand. His eyes hardened before he could hide it. I felt my answer before he spoke. The timing is complicated, he said. Complicated for whom? For everyone. The firm, my family, my father's health. Your father was healthy enough to let me sit by the service doors. That's unfair. What's unfair is using the word health when you mean reputation. He looked away. I had watched him negotiate enough to know when he was recalculating. Fine, he said. Yes, the loan matters. Of course it matters. People depend on that project. And you depend on me being too ashamed to demand repayment. I never thought you'd weaponize it. I never thought you'd hide behind my money while humiliating me with another woman." The bouquet lowered more. "I made mistakes," he said. "You made decisions." His voice sharpened. "Do you want me to beg?" "No." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to sign." He stared at the door. "No," he said. That was the most honest word he had spoken all night. "Then we're done talking." "Wait." He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded document. "At least sign this temporary standstill agreement. 30 days. No loan demand. No filings. No public statements. We use the time to cool off." I almost smiled. Maria had warned me. An apology with a hook inside. Who drafted that? I asked. "Counsel. Your counsel or the firm's." "It doesn't matter." "It matters very much. Ava, don't be difficult." And there he was. The apology had lasted less than 4 minutes. "Email it to Maria," I said. "Why can't you just look at it?" "Because I'm not signing another document from you on a doorstep." His face flushed. "That's what this is about," he said. "You think I tricked you? I know you benefited from me not reading. I am your husband. You are the reason I read now." The words seemed to hit him harder than anger would have. He folded the document slowly. "You're making enemies you don't need," he said. "No, I'm identifying the ones I already had." I ended the call. He stood outside for another minute, then he dropped the flowers on the top step and left. I waited until his car turned the corner, then I opened the door, picked up the bouquet, and carried it to the trash bin behind the house. I took a photo first, not for evidence, for me. Proof that a beautiful thing can still be bait. The next morning, Maria called. "He sent the standstill agreement," she said. "And, it's garbage. I assumed it would prevent you from filing for divorce for 30 days, prevent you from contacting investors, freeze your loan demand, and require you to continue covering mutually established family expenses." I closed my eyes. Mutually established family expenses. Celeste's face cream had become a legal category. "There's more," Maria said. "Of course there is. It includes a confidentiality clause broad enough to stop you from discussing the birthday dinner." I looked toward the dining room table, where the divorce folder sat beside my mother's mug. "He wanted to erase the chair." "Yes," Maria said. "He did." At noon, I drove to Nathan's office, not because he had asked, because Graham had sent me a message. "You need to see who attended the Harborline prep meeting." Whitmore Studio occupied the 6th floor of a renovated warehouse with exposed brick and expensive lighting. I had helped choose the furniture in the reception area. I had paid for the client lounge when Nathan said it would help the firm signal stability. The receptionist, Marcy, looked startled when I walked in. "Mrs. Whitmore, Ava is fine. Mr. Whitmore is in a meeting. I'm not here for him. I'm here to see Graham Doyle." She hesitated before she could answer. The glass conference room door opened. Elise stepped out holding a stack of presentation boards. She wore a slate blue dress and Nathan's hand rested lightly at the small of her back. The room behind them was full of investors. Nathan saw me. For the first time since I had known him, he looked afraid in his own office. Elise smiled. "Oh," she said, loudly enough for the reception area to hear. "Ava, I hope you're feeling better today." Every head in the conference room turned. Nathan did not correct her. He let the implication sit there. Unstable wife, difficult wife, poor Ava. Feeling unwell, I looked at the investors. Then at my husband. "Much better," I said. I stopped signing things I hadn't read. Graham appeared in the hall behind the conference room. His face pale. Nathan stepped toward me. "Not here." I looked at the glass walls, the investors, Elise's hand on his presentation boards. "Funny," I said. "That seems to be your favorite place to tell the truth." Nathan closed the conference room door behind him like glass could hold back consequence. It could not. The investors were still watching through it. Elise stood near the reception desk with the presentation boards clutched to her chest. Her expression was carefully worried, the same soft concern she had worn outside my house, but her knuckles were white against the cardboard edges. Graham hovered in the hallway, a man who had spent his career avoiding scenes and now found himself standing in the center of one. "Ava," Nathan said through his teeth, "you need to leave." "No, this is my office. The client lounge is mine." His eyes flicked toward the seating area. Gray velvet chairs, brass lamps, A marble table Celeste had mocked as a little feminine until a magazine photographer complimented it. I had paid for all of it. Nathan knew. Graham knew, the receptionist probably knew, but knowing quietly had always served Nathan better than saying it aloud. Elise stepped in. Maybe we should give you two privacy. I looked at her. You first. Her cheeks flushed. Nathan's voice dropped. Stop attacking her. Why is she in your Harborline prep meeting? She's consulting, on architecture, on donor relations. I stared at him. For a civic center project. She has non-profit experience. Elise lifted her chin slightly. I was invited because I understand how to bring people together. You couldn't even leave my chair alone. The receptionist's eyes widened and dropped immediately to her keyboard. Nathan took my arm again, then stopped himself before touching me. He remembered the microphone. Good learning had begun. Graham, I said without looking away from Nathan, is my loan included in the financial assurance package for Harborline? Graham swallowed. Yes. Nathan spun toward him. Do not answer her in the lobby. Graham's face tightened. She is the lender. The sentence landed harder than anything I could have said. The receptionist stopped typing. Elise looked at Nathan. The lender, she said. Nathan ignored her. Ava, this is reckless. What's reckless is presenting my money while telling people I'm emotionally unstable. His face went still. The investors behind the glass shifted. One of them, a woman with silver hair and red glasses, leaned toward another and whispered. Nathan saw it too. Come into my office, he said. No, we can talk with Graham present. I won't discuss private marital issues with an employee. You discussed my mental state with investors. That is not what I did. Elise spoke softly. Nathan only said you were under stress. I turned to her. You are not part of this conversation. I'm part of his life, and somehow still not part of his debt. Her mouth shut. Graham coughed into his fist. Nathan looked like he wanted to fire him on the spot. I took a folder from my bag. Maria is sending formal notice by email, but I wanted to hand-deliver this courtesy copy. Nathan stared at it. A demand letter, a request for documentation first. Maria is polite. You're enjoying this. I am documenting this. I handed the folder to Graham, not Nathan. Nathan's eyes flashed. He works for me. He handles company finance. The loan is a company matter. Graham took the folder carefully. I'll forward it to counsel. Thank you. Elise looked between them. Nathan, what is she talking about? That was when I saw it. She had not known. Not really. Elise knew I had money. She knew the house was mine. She knew enough to resent it. But Nathan had not told her that the firm's shining project rested on a loan I could call due. He had sold her the same illusion he sold investors. Whitmore strength. Whitmore backing. Whitmore legacy. Elise had chosen a chair without checking who owned the table. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Then, at the conference room, we are done, he said. No, I said. We're beginning. I turned to leave. Behind me, Elise said, you won't win him back this way. I stopped slowly. I turned. Every person in that reception area seemed to hold still. I don't want him back, I said for the first time. Elise looked uncertain. Nathan did too. It was strange, watching people discover that the game they were playing was not the game I had entered. I walked out before either of them could respond. In the elevator, my hands started to tremble. I pressed them flat against the metal wall until the doors opened in the lobby outside. The city looked too ordinary for a marriage ending. A bike messenger cut through traffic. A woman in scrubs carried coffee. A man yelled into his phone about a delivery window. The world had the audacity to continue. My phone buzzed. A message from Matteo. I have the original and revised seating charts. Also the internal note. Can meet today if helpful. I replied immediately. 4:00, Langford Cafe. Then I called Maria. She brought up my mental state at his office. I said, witnesses, receptionist, investors. Graham, good. I don't feel good. That is also normal. I stood at the curb and watched a taxi pass. Maria, I said, how do people survive realizing they were useful, not loved? She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, they stop auditioning for love from people who use them. At 4, I met Matteo in the cafe off the Langford lobby. He was in his early 40s, with kind eyes and the posture of someone trained to disappear until needed. He wore a dark suit and carried a leather folio. When he sat across from me, he placed it on the table like a peace offering. I don't want trouble, he said. I'm not here to create trouble for you, I know, but Mr. Whitmore called my supervisor. My stomach tightened. Nathan. Yes. He asked whether staff had shared private event materials with you. Did your supervisor answer? He told him the pair of record has access to event records. The pair of record, my new favorite title. Matteo opened the folio. Inside were printed copies. The original seating chart showed me at the head table, between Nathan and Richard. Elise was at table 4. With 2 college friends of Nathan's and a museum director she apparently knew. The revised chart showed Elise beside Nathan. My name had been moved to table 11. A sticky note marked the email per Nathan. Elise beside me. Move Ava wherever there is room, Mom. Agrees. I read it once then again. The words did not change. What time was this sent? I asked. 2 days before the event. 2 days. Nathan had not been surprised. He had not been pressured at the last minute. He had not arrived to find his mother rearranged the room. He had given the instruction. I looked up. Did Elise know? Matteo hesitated. That matters, I said. He turned another page. An email from Elise to Nathan's assistant. Please make sure Celeste is comfortable with the seating change. I don't want Ava to feel pushed out. But Nathan said this would mean a lot to Richard. I stared at it. Not Ava might be hurt. Not I shouldn't sit there. I don't want Ava to feel pushed out. She had known exactly what it was. She had only wanted plausible softness around it. Can I have copies? I asked. These are yours, Matteo. Why are you helping me this much? He looked down at his coffee. My mother stayed with my father after that retirement dinner, he said. He moved her to a back table for his secretary. Everyone laughed it off. She laughed too. Then she spent 15 more years being grateful for crumbs. When you walked out of the ballroom, I thought maybe she would have liked to see that. I pressed my fingers to the paper. I'm sorry, I said. He nodded once. Me too. When I left the cafe, I did not go home. I walked 6 blocks to the Harrington Foundation office, where I had served on the annual Arts Benefit Committee for 5 years. The receptionist greeted me warmly. Ava, we were just talking about you. That was rarely good. In the conference room, 6 committee members sat around a polished table. At the far end, Elise Park stood beside a whiteboard, smiling as if she belonged there. My chair was open. For once Elise's smile widened when she saw me. Ava, she said, perfect timing. I was just suggesting a few changes for the spring benefit. Committee Chair Laura Bell, a 70-year-old woman with steel grey hair and a talent for polite execution, looked between us. Elise mentioned she might help us with donor relations, Laura said. Nathan recommended her. Of course he did. I took my seat. How generous, I said. Elise clasped her hands. I know this committee means a lot to you, Ava. I would never want to overstep. You keep saying that immediately before stepping. Laura's eyebrows lifted. Elise flushed. I'm trying to help. With what experience? I've worked with non-profits. Which ones? A silence. She named one. A children's literacy foundation. Laura leaned forward. Were you on staff? Elise's smile flickered. Advisory. Informally. I opened my folder and placed a single sheet on the table. The Langford invoice, paid in full by Ava Montgomery. I think before we discuss donor relations, I said, we should clarify something. Nathan Whitmore has been recommending people and making commitments in rooms where he is not the pair, donor, or committee member. Laura picked up the invoice. Elise's face went pale. I did not release the seating chart, not yet. A small strike works better when the larger one is waiting. Laura looked at Elise. Perhaps we should postpone any role discussion. Elise's mouth opened. Of course, I never meant to assume. No, I said. You meant to be invited through a man who was using my name without permission. The room went silent. Laura set the invoice down carefully. Elise, she said, thank you for coming. We'll be in touch if needed. Dismissal can be quiet and still cut bone. Elise gathered her handbag at the door. She paused beside me. Her voice was low enough for only me. You think one invoice makes you untouchable? I looked up. No, I think a pattern does. She smiled without warmth. Then I hope you're ready for yours to be examined. She left that night. Page posted online. Some women confuse generosity with ownership. Sad to watch greed ruin a family. Within minutes, Nathan's cousin liked it. Then Celeste's friend commented with a praying hands emoji. Then someone who had attended the birthday dinner replied. Was This before or after Ava paid for the party where Elise sat in her chair. I read the comment twice, then I took a screenshot. For the first time since the ballroom, the room was not only watching me, it was starting to look at them. By morning, Paige's post had grown teeth. Not because it was clever, it was not. Paige had never met an accusation she could not make vaguer and more dramatic. Some women confuse generosity with ownership. Sad to watch greed ruin a family. The problem was not the sentence. The problem was the machine behind it. Whitmore friends liked it. Celeste's charity circle fluttered beneath it with sad little comments. Nathan's college roommate posted, "Hope everyone gets the help they need." Elise, of course, did not comment. She did something better. She shared a quote about grace. The kind of quote women post when they want to look above a fight they helped start. I sat at my dining table with coffee, my laptop, and a stomach that had gone cold. Maria called at 9. "Do not respond emotionally," she said before hello. "Good morning to you too. Paige is baiting you. I know. Nathan's office is also moving. One investor forwarded us an email. She sent it while we were on the call. I opened it. From Nathan Whitmore to Harborline Investor Group. I apologize for any confusion caused by personal matters that have recently become visible. My wife has been under considerable emotional strain, and certain financial communications may not reflect her long-term intentions. Please direct all concerns to me until this temporary family issue is resolved." Temporary family issue, emotional strain. My hands went very still on the keyboard. Maria's voice softened. "Ava, I'm here. This is useful. It feels disgusting. Both can be true." I read the email again. Certain financial communications may not reflect her long-term intentions. He was trying to turn my legal demand into a mood, a woman's boundary into a symptom. I closed the laptop before I threw it. "What do we do?" I asked. "We send a corrective notice. Dry, factual, no adjectives. We also preserve this as evidence of reputational interference. He's telling investors I'm unstable." "Yes, can we stop him? We can make it expensive to continue." That was Maria's gift. She did not promise comfort. She offered structure. At 10, my cousin June arrived with groceries and rage. June Montgomery was my mother's sister's daughter, a public school principal with curly hair, blunt bangs, and a voice that could silence a cafeteria from 40 feet away. She walked into Montgomery House without knocking because she had a key and because she had earned it. "I brought soup," she said, "and I would like to hit someone with the pot." "You can't." I said I would like to. She set 2 bags on the counter and pulled me into a hug before I could object. That was when I cried. Not much, not beautifully, just a hard, ugly burst against her shoulder while she held me and said nothing. When I pulled back, she handed me a paper towel. "Good," she said. "Now hydrate and ruin them legally." I laughed through my nose. She unpacked groceries with angry efficiency. I saw Paige's post. Everyone saw Paige's post. She has the moral depth of a decorative spoon. That may be unfair to spoons. June pointed a bunch of celery at me. "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Is Nathan dangerous?" I thought about his hand on my elbow. His threats. The way anger moved under his skin when I stopped obeying. "Not physically," I said. Then I corrected myself because Maria would have. "Not so far." June nodded. "Good answer." Locks changed. "Yes." Shared accounts. Frozen or separated. Lawyer. Maria. "Excellent." Maria scares people who deserve it. She filled my fridge while I showed her the folders. The seat change. The loan. The standstill agreement. Elise's recording. Paige's post. When June saw the email to investors, her face changed. "Oh," she said. "He's that kind. That kind. The kind who will call you unstable because calling you accurate would cost him money." The sentence stayed with me. At noon, Maria sent the corrective notice. It was beautiful in the way only bloodless legal writing can be beautiful. "Please be advised that Ava Montgomery Whitmore's communications regarding the bridge note are intentional, authorized, and made with counsel. Any characterization of Ms. Montgomery Whitmore as unable to understand or direct her financial affairs is false and should not be relied upon. No rage, no heartbreak, just a blade with letterhead. By 1, Nathan called. I answered. Because Maria had told me I could, if I kept it short. "What are you doing?" He snapped. "Answering your call. You sent a legal threat to my investors." "No," I corrected your lie. "I said you were under strain." "You are." I am divorcing you. That is not incapacity, you're trying to destroy everything I built. I looked around the dining room at boxes of documents proving how much of what he built had been held up by my money. You mean everything I helped build? You helped because we were married. I helped because I loved you. He went quiet for one breath. I heard the old Nathan, or I heard the memory of him in the silence. Then he said, "Then don't do this." There it was, the hook under the ache. Love was not permission to erase me. I said, "You want to be acknowledged? Fine, I'll acknowledge you, publicly. Is that what you want? No, you want Elise gone. Fine, I'll tell her to step back. You should have done that before she sat in my chair." He exhaled sharply. "You are obsessed with that chair." I am focused on the moment I stopped lying to myself. "Ava, if you continue, I'll have to defend myself." "Then defend yourself honestly." He laughed. "You don't want honest." "I do." "Fine. You were cold. You were always managing everything, every dinner, every account, every room. Being married to you felt like living under audit." That one landed. I gripped the phone harder. He continued, voice gaining confidence because cruelty often mistakes itself for truth once it starts moving. "Elise made me feel human again. She listened. She didn't turn every problem into a spreadsheet. She didn't make me feel like a failure for needing help." I waited until he finished, then I said, "Did you tell her the help was mine?" Silence. "Did you tell her the spreadsheets kept your family fed, seated, funded, polished, and protected?" "Nothing. You felt audited because I was the only one keeping records." His voice dropped. "You're going to regret making me your enemy." There it is. What? The truth without flowers. I ended the call. My hands shook again. June looked up from the kitchen doorway. "Soup first or revenge first?" "Soup." "Good. Revenge on an empty stomach leads to sloppy emails." At 3, Maria called with an update. "Nathan's counsel claims you are acting out of malice and marital jealousy." Of course. They also deny that the seating change had legal relevance. It has narrative relevance. It has more than that. It supports emotional cruelty, public humiliation, and the pattern of misrepresentation around Elise. Is that enough? For divorce leverage? Yes. For public opinion? More than enough. I looked at Paige's post again. "What if I post the invoice?" I asked. Maria paused. "You may post one factual correction. No insults. No speculation. One document with context." I thought about it, then I opened my social page. I had not posted anything personal in months. Nathan preferred that. He said privacy was elegant. What he meant was, my silence gave him room to curate. I uploaded a cropped image of the Langford invoice showing my name as pair, along with one sentence for clarity. I did not ruin a family birthday dinner. I paid for it, attended it, was moved from my seat as wife, and chose not to fund the disrespect any longer. I stared at the post for a full minute before hitting publish, then I turned my phone face down. June ladled soup into bowls. "Eat," she said. "I just posted." "Then definitely eat." For 20 minutes, I did not look. When I finally turned the phone over, there were 93 notifications. My heart pounded. The top comment was from Laura Bell. "I attended the dinner. Ava's statement is accurate." Below it, Bryn, Celeste's yoga instructor, had written, "I was seated beside Ava near the service doors. It was uncomfortable to witness." Then someone named Caroline, one of Richard's old colleagues, wrote, "I wondered why Richard's daughter-in-law was not at the family table. Now I know." The room shifted, not completely, not cleanly, but enough. The machine behind Paige's vague little cruelty jammed on the first fact at 5:12. Paige deleted her post at 5:19. Celeste texted me, "You have gone too far" at 5:22. Richard called. I hesitated, then answered. "Ava," he said. His voice sounded older than it had 2 nights ago. "Richard, I would like to see you." "No." A pause. "I think you owe me a conversation." The old me would have apologized. The new me looked at the invoice, the screenshots, the seat chart. "No," I said, "I don't." He breathed in slowly. "I did not know Nathan instructed the seating change. But you saw where I sat." Silence. "You saw me," I said. His voice lowered. "Yes, and you said nothing." Another silence. Then he said, "I am asking you to think carefully before tearing this family apart." I closed my eyes. "There it is," I said. "What? You still think I'm the one tearing it?" He had no answer. When the call ended, I did not cry. I opened the file marked family, then I Added Richard's call summary that evening. Graham sent one line: Nathan is trying to shift portions of Harborline exposure into the spousal support dispute. You need to see the draft memo. A file followed. I opened it. Halfway down page 3. Nathan's counsel referred to me as a non-operational spouse whose financial involvement was ceremonial and marital in nature. Ceremonial: my money had paid vendors, my house had hosted investors, my signature had backed debt, my chair had been taken, and now I was ceremonial. I sent the memo to Maria. Then I opened a new document and typed a title: Things They Said When They Thought I Would Stay Quiet. By the time I finished the first page, Maria called. Her voice was sharp. Ava, we need to move faster. Why? Nathan is not only smearing you, he is trying to make you legally responsible for part of the firm's exposure while denying you lender authority. I stood from the table. Can he do that? He can try. What do? We make him choose in writing. Either you are a lender with rights, or you are a spouse with no operational liability. He cannot use you as both shield and wallet. I looked toward the front window. Outside, a car idled across the street. Dark sedan, familiar, Nathan's. His outside. I said. Maria's voice changed. Do not open the door. I won't. The car door opened. Nathan stepped out, then Celeste, then Richard, then Paige. My phone buzzed with a message from Nathan. We're done letting you hide. Open the door. Behind them, another car pulled up. Elise got out. June came to stand beside me. Well, she said, looking through the curtain, the decorative spoons have arrived. They came to my door like a family portrait that had learned to threaten. Richard stood in front, dignified in a charcoal overcoat. Celeste hovered beside him, her silk scarf tucked perfectly under her chin. Paige crossed her arms, mouth twisted with the satisfaction of someone who believed numbers made her brave. Nathan stood one step ahead of Elise, as if that tiny distance could still convince anyone she was not part of the invasion. Elise held no key this time. Progress. June looked through the curtain and made a sound low in her throat. Do you want me to call someone? Not yet. Maria was still on the phone. Ava, she said, put me on speaker and keep the door closed. I did. Then I opened the inner door but left the main door locked. Nathan saw me through the glass. Open it, he said. No. Richard lifted a hand. Ava, this is not how family speaks. I stared at him through the pane. Family does not arrive in formation. Celeste's eyes narrowed. This is childish, June muttered. Said the woman on a doorstep. Brigade. Paige leaned closer. We can hear you. Good, June said. Nathan ignored her. Ava, we need to talk without lawyers. Maria's voice came from my phone on the hall table. That will not be happening. Celeste flinched. Is that Maria sure? Yes, I said. Richard's jaw tightened. Ava, surely this can be handled with dignity. I tried dignity at your birthday dinner. It was seated near the kitchen. Elise looked down, not from shame, from calculation. Richard closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he looked tired. I should have said something. The sentence struck me unexpectedly. Celeste turned to him. Richard, he lifted a hand. I should have, he repeated for one dangerous second. I almost softened. Then he continued. But you have made your point. Enough public damage has been done. There it was, not remorse, containment. You want me quiet, I said. I want you reasonable. Nathan's eyes flicked to mine. He knew that word had become flammable. I smiled slightly. You people need a new script. Paige stepped forward. You posted private family business online. I posted an invoice with my name on it. You made us look awful. No. I removed the lighting. Celeste's face sharpened. You are not innocent. Ava, let's not pretend you did not enjoy playing benefactor, paying for things, being needed, holding it over us. I opened the door then, not all the way, just enough to stand in the gap with the chain across. June made a small sound behind me but stayed back. I held it under you. I said, that was my mistake. Celeste blinked. I thought support meant love. I continued, you thought it meant weakness. Now we're both corrected. Nathan stepped closer. Ava, this is exactly what I mean. You turn everything into a moral speech, and you turn every harm into my tone. Elise spoke then, soft and careful. This isn't helping anyone. I looked at her. You should be quiet. Her eyes filled immediately. Elise came because she cares about Nathan. Celeste snapped. Elise came because Nathan is a ladder and I removed the bottom rungs. Elise's tears vanished. Richard's gaze cut to her. Finally, not enough, but finally, Nathan rubbed his forehead. Can we go inside, please? The neighbors. You didn't care about audience at the hotel. This is different. Yes, this is my house. He swallowed. I saw the moment he remembered the trust deed. Fine, he said. Then we'll speak here. Maria's voice came crisp through the phone. All parties should be aware this conversation may be documented. Celeste's lips parted. This is absurd. No, Maria said. This is prudent. Richard looked toward the phone. Maria, I have known you for many years. Yes, Richard, which is why I am disappointed, not surprised. June covered a laugh with a cough. Nathan's patience snapped. Enough, Ava, you are going to withdraw the loan demand. No, you are going to pause the divorce. No, and you are going to take down that post. No, Paige threw up her hands. She's impossible. No, June said. She's monosyllabic. It's efficient. Celeste turned on me. Do you understand what happens if Nathan's project collapses? Yes. People will blame you, only if they can't read contracts. Nathan leaned closer. You think Maria can protect you from everything. I don't need protection from consequences. I need protection from lies. Elise wiped at one eye. Nathan only wanted one peaceful night with his father. You turned it into a public execution. I laughed quietly. She looked startled. You really are committed, I said. To what? To pretending the story began when I objected. Elise's face hardened. So I opened my folder. I had placed it on the small table beside the door before they arrived. Inside were copies of the seating chart, the invoice, the standstill agreement, and the key still. Image from the hotel corridor recording where Nathan's hand was on my arm. I held up the seating note. Per Nathan, I read. Elise beside me. Move Ava wherever there is room. Mom agrees. Silence. The night outside seemed to lean in. Celeste looked at Nathan. You told me Elise needed to be near Richard. Nathan said nothing. Richard's face changed slowly. I looked at him. That was sent 2 days before your birthday. Richard took off his glasses, cleaned them with a cloth, put them back on. Nathan, he said. Nathan's jaw tightened. It was a seating chart. Celeste's voice went sharp. You said it was because Richard would want her close. Nathan turned on her. You agreed. You told me Ava understood. I almost smiled. There it was. The family machine, reversing direction. When the lie still served them, everyone shared it. When it became costly, ownership became a hot plate. Paige looked between her mother and brother. Wait, you knew. Celeste snapped. Be quiet, June whispered. Decorative spoon discovers drawer. I held up the standstill agreement, and this, I said, would have required me to keep paying mutually established family expenses while staying silent about the birthday dinner. Richard looked at Nathan again. Nathan, it was a temporary measure, Nathan said. Maria spoke. It was an overbroad gag and financial restraint. Richard, since you are present, you should know your son attempted to stop my client from exercising both marital and lender rights. Elise's voice came thin. Lender rights. I turned to her, still catching up. She glared at me before remembering to look hurt. Nathan looked exhausted now. Ava, what do you want from me? The question should have been simple: an apology, once respect, once a chair, once, but now, after all of this, I wanted something cleaner. Sign the divorce agreement, I said, acknowledge the debt, move your belongings out of my property, correct your statements about my mental state, stop using my money and name. Celeste made a strangled sound. That would ruin him. No, I said, it would separate him from what was never his. Richard looked at me for a long moment, then he said, Ava, you loved my son. Yes. Does that mean nothing now? I looked at Nathan. He looked back at me with anger, fear, and something else I refused to translate into hope. It means I stayed too long, I said. Elise stepped forward. If you loved him, you wouldn't do this. I turned to her. You don't get to define love from my stolen chair. Her face flushed. Nathan suddenly rounded on her. Elise, stop. She froze. The porch went silent for the first time. He had corrected her in front of me, not because it was right, because she had become inconvenient. Elise understood too. I saw it in the way her mouth tightened, the way her eyes moved from Nathan to Richard to Celeste. Her chair was wobbling. Celeste seized the moment. Ava, come to dinner tomorrow. Just family. We can sit down properly and repair this. Repair what? Trust, you mean? Control, Richard said quietly. Please, I looked at him. The old part of me remembered him teaching me how to make his mother's rye stuffing because Celeste hated cooking. It remembered him sending me a book after my mother died, with a note, "She raised a steady woman." It remembered all the scraps I had collected and called affection. "Fine," I said. Everyone stilled. June whispered, "Ava." I lifted a hand. "One dinner," I said, "at your house. Tomorrow, no lawyers in the room, but I will not agree to confidentiality. I will not sign anything. I will not withdraw anything. If anyone insults me, lies about me, or tries to pressure me, I walk out." Nathan exhaled like a man who thought he had gained ground. He had not. Maria said nothing, but I could feel her disapproval through the phone. Celeste straightened. "Good. We can be civilized." "No," I said. "We can be recorded." Her eyes narrowed. I closed the door before she could answer. The next evening, I went to the Whitmore house with my phone fully charged and a recording app ready. Their dining room looked like a museum of inherited importance: silver candlesticks, oil portraits, a mahogany table long enough to keep emotion from traveling. I had set that table for Christmas 3 years in a row while Celeste corrected the distance between forks. Tonight, I sat at Richard's right, my original place. Elise sat across from me. Nathan sat beside her. That was useful. People reveal themselves best when they think the arrangement favors them. Dinner began with soup and false restraint. Richard asked about my work. Celeste asked whether I wanted wine. Paige said nothing but watched me like a cat near a breakable glass. Nathan looked at me too often. Elise looked at him looking at me. By the main course, Celeste could not hold. "Ava," she said, placing her fork down, "do you understand how much pain Richard has been in?" I set my glass down. "Yes. You embarrassed him in front of his oldest friends. He opened the box. You insisted." "I did," Richard said. "Celeste." "No," she said. "We are here to be honest. Ava has always wanted acknowledgement. Fine. We acknowledge she helped. But helping does not give her the right to destroy us." I looked at Nathan. "Do you agree?" He hesitated. "Perfect." Elise watched him. "Finally," he said, "I think you're using money to punish emotion." "And what emotion did you express by moving my seat?" His jaw tightened. "I wanted Elise near me." The table went still. There it was, not near Richard, near me. I kept my voice calm. "Why?" Nathan looked at his plate. "Because I wanted one night that didn't feel like a negotiation." Elise's face softened with triumph. I looked at her. "And you knew taking my place would hurt me." She blinked. "I didn't think of it that way." "You emailed that you didn't want me to feel pushed out." Her face drained. Celeste stared at her. "You knew about the email." Elise recovered quickly. "I meant I didn't want drama. You meant you wanted the result without the responsibility," I said. Richard leaned back slowly. I turned to him. "Are you hearing this?" He closed his eyes. Nathan pushed his chair back. "This is not productive." "No," I said, "it's honest." Paige finally spoke. "Ava, you're acting like you were some saint. You liked being needed. You liked holding the purse strings because it made you better than us." I looked at her. "I paid your rent for 14 months. Her face flushed. "Because Nathan said you were struggling and too proud to ask." She looked at Nathan. "You told her. She deserved to know where her money went." I said. Paige's eyes filled with angry tears. "You're humiliating me. I learned from professionals." Richard's hand came down on the table. Not loud, firm. "Enough." Everyone stopped. He looked at Nathan. "Did you tell investors Ava's role was ceremonial?" Nathan's face hardened. "Counsel used that language. Did you approve it?" No answer. Richard looked at Celeste. "Did we ask Ava to cover expenses we had no intention of repaying?" Celeste lifted her chin. "Families do not invoice each other. They do when one side calls the other greedy." The silence that followed was new. Richard was not on my side, but he was no longer entirely on theirs. That shift made Nathan panic. "Dad," he said, "don't let her turn us against each other." I smiled faintly. "That's my favorite part," I said. Nathan looked at me. "I don't have to turn anyone," I continued. "I just have to stop paying for the glue." Elise stood abruptly. "I think I should go." Nathan reached for her hand. She did not take it. Everyone saw a small, perfect crack. I stood too. "Thank you for dinner," I said. "Maria will be in touch." Celeste stood. "You are walking out again." "Yes, this family will remember this." I picked up my bag. "So will my recorder." Every face changed. Nathan went pale. "You recorded dinner." I looked at him. "One party consent." Remember? Elise whispered. You set us up. No, I said, I let you speak. I walked out of the Whitmore dining room with Nathan calling my name behind me. Outside, I sent the file to Maria before I started the car. Her reply came fast. This is enough. We moved to final pressure. Then another message arrived from Nathan. If you release that, I will make sure everyone knows what kind of woman you really are. I saved it. Then I drove home smiling for the first time in 3 days. Not because I was happy, because he still thought exposure was a threat that belonged only to him. The first mediation session lasted 11 minutes before Nathan tore the corner off. The divorce agreement, not the whole document. He was too controlled for that. Just the top corner of page 1, between his thumb and forefinger, a small, sharp rip that filled the conference room louder than a shout. Maria looked at the torn edge, then at him. Mr. Whitmore, she said, that was your copy. Nathan released the paper. His lawyer, Bennett Cole, closed his eyes for one brief second. Bennett was expensive, silver-haired, and already tired of his client. I could tell because he kept using phrases like with respect and let us return to practical matters, which were lawyer language for stop damaging yourself. Nathan leaned back in his chair. This is extortion. I sat across from him with my hands folded around a paper cup of coffee. I had not slept much, but I had slept in my house, behind my locks, under my mother's quilt. That mattered. No, Maria said. This is a divorce proposal and a commercial repayment demand. They are related only because your client made them. Related? Bennett cleared his throat. We dispute that characterization. Of course you do. Nathan looked at me. Say something. I took a breath. Sign. His jaw tightened. Not that. That's all I have left to say to you. The conference room overlooked a grey courtyard where 3 bare trees stood in square planters. The room smelled of coffee, printer ink, and other people's endings. On the table sat the divorce agreement, the bridge note, the trust deed for Montgomery House, a folder of public statements, and a separate folder marked seating incident. Bennett had glanced at that folder only once. Once had been enough. He knew juries were not involved. He also knew reputations were. Nathan pointed at the divorce papers. You want the house, full repayment, separation of all accounts, public correction, and legal fees. The house is mine, I said. His eyes flashed. We lived there. You lived there by permission. We were married, yes, and now permission is over. Bennett put a hand slightly in Nathan's direction. Let's not relitigate the residence emotionally. Maria slid the trust deed across the table. There is nothing to relitigate. Montgomery House is owned by the Eleanor Montgomery Trust. Ava is trustee and beneficiary. Nathan has no ownership interest. Nathan did not look at the deed. He had always hated documents that did not flatter him. What about the apartment? Maria asked. Bennett glanced at his notes. Mr. Whitmore maintains that the office apartment was business-related. Then Whitmore Studio can reimburse the personal charges to Ava's card. Nathan snapped. It was temporary. How many temporary things did I pay for? I asked. He finally looked at me. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked older than he had at the birthday dinner, less like a man betrayed, more like a man furious that consequences had administrative steps. You never complained at the time, he said. I was married to you at the time. You offered. I offered help. You took ownership. His mouth twisted. You sound like Maria. Good. Bennett coughed. Maria opened another folder. We also need a written correction regarding statements made to investors about Ava's mental and financial capacity. Nathan laughed once. Absolutely not. Then we proceed with defamation and interference claims. Bennett turned to him. Nathan. No, Nathan said. I am not writing some humiliating apology because my wife had a meltdown at my father's party. The room became very still. Maria's pen stopped moving. I looked at Nathan for a long moment, then I opened my bag and removed my phone. Bennett sat straighter. What is that? A transcript, I said, from the dinner at your family home. Nathan went pale. I read from the page. I wanted Elise near me because I wanted one night that didn't feel like a negotiation. Nathan's eyes closed. I continued. Elise. I meant I didn't want drama. I turned a page. Celeste. Families do not invoice each other. Another page. Nathan, don't let her turn us against each other. I placed the transcript on the table. This is why we are not discussing whether I imagined the humiliation. Bennett reached for the transcript before Nathan could stop him. His expression changed as he read. Maria said, "We are not seeking to publish this, we are seeking resolution. But if your client continues to characterize documented conduct as Ava's mental instability, the record will become necessary." Bennett looked at Nathan. "We should caucus." Nathan did not move. He stared at me. "You recorded my father in his own dining room. I recorded a meeting where your family pressured me to withdraw legal claims. You're not the woman I married." "No," I said. "She kept trying to be loved by people who wanted her useful." His face flinched for a moment. Grief moved through him, real or not. I did not know. It no longer changed the terms. Bennett stood. "We need 5 minutes." Maria nodded. Nathan rose slowly. At the door, he stopped. "Ava," he said. I looked up. He seemed to search for the right words, then he chose the wrong ones. "If you do this, there's no going back." I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because he was still standing behind a door I had already closed, warning me it might shut. "I know," I said. "He left with Bennett." Maria waited until the door closed. "How are you?" "Tired." "Second thoughts?" "No." "Grief?" "Yes." She nodded. "That's allowed." I looked at the torn corner of the divorce agreement. "He still thinks signing is something he gives me," I said. "Men like Nathan often mistake cooperation for generosity. What happens if he refuses?" "We file contested. We pursue the loan. We demand correction. We notify relevant parties through formal channels. It becomes slower and more expensive." "Will he do that?" Maria glanced at the closed door. "He is proud, but he is not irrational enough to enjoy insolvency." He came close. "Pride negotiates loudly. Debt negotiates eventually." Nathan returned. 20 minutes later, not 5, his face was controlled again, which meant Bennett had done his job. Bennett sat. "We can agree to discuss a correction, though the language must be mutual." "No," Maria said. Bennett lifted a hand. "We can agree to a loan standstill of 14 days in exchange for meaningful divorce progress." "No," I said. Everyone looked at me, even Maria. I set my coffee down. "No standstill," I repeated. "No silence trade. No more paying for time while Nathan decides whether he can respect me enough to leave." Nathan's eyes narrowed. "You don't understand business. I understand that you need me to behave like a wife while you deny I was a lender." Bennett said. "Ava, with respect." "Don't," I said. My voice was calm, but the room felt the edge in it. I sat by the service doors while my husband's former girlfriend sat in my place. I listened to his family call me greedy after I paid their bills. I watched him tell investors I was unstable while using my money as proof of stability. I am done trading my dignity for everyone else's smooth landing. No one spoke. Maria's eyes softened for 1 second, then returned to steel. Nathan looked down. His hands were clenched. "Finally," Bennett said, "what are you willing to offer?" 7 days to produce a repayment plan," Maria said. "Written correction within 48 hours. Divorce response within 5 business days. Immediate cessation of personal statements regarding Ava's capacity or motives. Removal of Nathan's remaining belongings from Montgomery House by appointment. No contact except through counsel, with limited logistical exceptions." Nathan looked at me. "No contact?" "Yes, so I'm supposed to become a stranger." I met his eyes. "You made me one at your father's table. That hit good." Bennett quietly gathered the papers. "We'll respond." Nathan stood. But this time he did not look at me before leaving. It should have felt like a victory. It felt like walking out of a burning house with smoke in my lungs and the deed in my hand. Outside the building, rain had begun. Fine, cold, needling rain that turned the sidewalk silver. I stood under the awning and let people move around me. Maria stopped beside me. "You did well," she said. "I don't feel well." "Those are different." I smiled faintly. "Everyone keeps telling me that, because it's true." My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. A photo loaded slowly. It showed Nathan and Elise leaving a restaurant together 2 weeks before Richard's birthday. His hand was at her waist. Her face was turned up to his. The timestamp was visible. The next message read, "He told the staff she was his wife." I stared at the screen. Maria leaned closer. "Ava." I handed her the phone. Her expression sharpened. "Who sent this?" "I don't know." A third message arrived. "Ask the Langford who requested Mrs. Whitmore's chair." Then a fourth. "Ask why Elise needed to look like you." I felt the rain hit my hand. Maria looked at me. "This just changed from humiliation," she said, "to impersonation risk." At home, I opened the photo on my laptop. I enlarged it. The restaurant was not the Langford, it was Maison Vale, the private dining room where Nathan entertained city officials and investors. I had hosted 3 dinners there with him. The staff knew me, or should have. Elise wore a black dress, not unusual, but around her neck was a necklace I recognized, my pearl drop necklace, the one missing from my jewelry drawer since the week before the birthday dinner. I stood so fast the chair scraped back. June, who had come over again with more soup and a portable rage supply, ran in from the kitchen. "What?" I pointed at the screen. She leaned in, then her face went flat. "Oh, Ava." I opened my jewelry cabinet. The necklace was still gone, so were the pearl earrings Nathan had given me on our 5th anniversary. Not stolen from the house by a stranger, removed by someone with access, someone with a key. I checked the security archive. 2 weeks before the birthday dinner, Nathan had entered Montgomery House at 2:14 p.m. While I was at a client meeting, he left at 2:31 with something in his coat pocket. I saved the clip. Then I sent Nathan one message, against Maria's general preference but within my own restraint. "Did you give Elise my pearls?" He answered after 6 minutes. "Don't start another drama." "Not no. Not what pearls? Don't start another drama." I forwarded everything to Maria. Her reply came fast. "Do not contact him again. We add conversion of personal property to the list." I sat on the floor of my closet and looked at the empty space where the pearls had been. For the first time since the birthday dinner, rage rose so hot it scared me. The chair had been public, the money had been hidden, but this was intimate. He had taken something from my bedroom, from my mother's house, from my body's history, and placed it on the woman he wanted to display where I should have been. June sat beside me on the floor. "Tell me what you need," she said. I looked at the security still on my phone. "I need him to lie about this in writing," I said. She smiled slowly. "There she is." The next morning, through Maria, we sent a formal request for return of personal jewelry. Nathan's counsel replied that same afternoon. "Mr. Whitmore denies removing, gifting, or authorizing use of any jewelry belonging to Ms. Montgomery Whitmore." At 4:10 p.m., Matteo called. "Ava," he said, "I think you should know the Whitmores booked a thank you reception at the Langford next Thursday." "For what?" "Richard wants to thank guests for their support after the birthday disruption." I closed my eyes. Of course, a second performance to repair the first. "Is Elise on the guest list?" "Yes." "Am I?" A pause. "Yes." At Mr. Richard Whitmore's request, I looked at the photo of Elise wearing my pearls, then at the denial from Nathan's counsel, then at the seating chart in my folder. "Matteo," I said, "can the Langford display event materials on the ballroom screen?" "Yes." "Good," I said, "because if they want to return to the table, I'm bringing the receipt." The Langford ballroom looked different the second time, not because the hotel had changed anything. The chandeliers still burned with warm light, the cream-paneled walls still reflected gold, the same bar stood beneath the balcony, the same stage waited at the far end with a microphone, a lectern, and a screen for family photos. The difference was me. The first time I entered that room, I still belonged to the hope that someone might stop me from being erased. The second time, I arrived with my lawyer, my documents, and no wedding ring. Maria walked beside me in a black suit. June came behind us, wearing red lipstick and the expression of a woman hoping someone would try her. Matteo met us near the entrance. "Everything is ready," he said quietly. "Thank you." His eyes moved to the folder in Maria's hand. "Are you sure?" I looked toward the head table. Elise sat beside Nathan again. My seat had not been moved this time, it had been removed. There were only 6 chairs at the head table: Richard, Celeste, Nathan, Elise, Paige, and one empty place for Richard's brother. No card for Ava, no pretense, not even a service door exile, just absence. I felt no shock. That was how I knew I had crossed into something colder than pain. Maria saw it too. "You can still choose a quieter route." "No," I said. They chose the room. The reception had been advertised as a gracious thank you after an unfortunate family misunderstanding. Richard's friends had come because people love a repaired scandal almost as much as a fresh one. Nathan's investors were there, at least 3 I recognized from the office. Laura Bell stood near the bar, speaking to Bryn. Graham stood alone by a column, looking like he wished he were a plant. Celeste saw me first. Her smile vanished, then returned twice as hard. Ava, she said, gliding toward us. I wasn't sure you would come, I was invited. Richard is trying to be generous. He usually is with things other people paid for. Her nostrils flared. Maria stepped slightly forward. Good evening, Celeste. Celeste looked at her as if Maria were a stain. This is a family event. No, Maria said. This is a public social event held at a commercial venue, involving several matters already in legal dispute. June whispered. She says the sweetest things. Celeste ignored her. If you came to make another scene, I came to watch yours, I said. Her eyes narrowed, but a guest approached before she could answer. Celeste turned, instantly warm. Ava, darling, she said loudly, we'll speak later. Darling, still trying to put lace over barbed wire. Nathan crossed the room next. He looked immaculate. Navy suit, white shirt, no tie. His face was composed, but there was tension around his mouth. Elise followed a few steps behind him, wearing pale blue and my pearls. The necklace rested against her collarbone. My mother's pearl drop for a second. All sound thinned. June's hand touched my back, steady and warm. Maria saw the necklace and went still. Nathan stopped in front of us. You shouldn't have come, he said. You sent an invitation. My father did. Then take it up with him. His eyes dropped to Maria's folder. Ava. I looked at Elise. She lifted one hand to the pearls, then lowered it quickly. Too late. You're wearing my necklace, I said. Her eyes widened. Excuse me, my pearl drop necklace. The one missing from my house. Nathan's face tightened. Not here. I laughed softly. You say that in every room where the truth is standing. Elise touched her throat. Nathan gave me this. The words came out before she could stop them. Nathan turned his head sharply. Maria's pen was already out. Elise realized what she had said. I mean, he said it was from his family collection. I looked at Nathan. Your counsel denied you removed or gifted my jewelry. His face had gone pale around the mouth. It was a misunderstanding, he said. There's that word again. Elise looked between us, panic beginning to show. Nathan. He did not answer her. That was useful too. Richard's voice came through the speakers. Friends, he said from the stage, if I could have your attention. The room turned toward him. Richard stood behind the lectern, older and more tired than he had at his birthday. Celeste stood to his right, Paige near the front. Nathan glanced at me once, a warning in his eyes, then moved toward the stage with Elise. I waited. Richard cleared his throat. Last week, what should have been a joyful family occasion became painful for many of us. He began. I have had time to reflect. That surprised me. For 3 sentences, I almost believed he might tell the truth. Then he continued. Families are complicated. Misunderstandings can grow when private hurt is made public. Tonight, I want to thank those who stood by us with grace and discretion. Grace and discretion. The old currency of women who swallow knives. Richard looked toward me, not apologetically, expectantly. He wanted me to accept the role assigned to me, the wounded woman who had gone too far, but could still be welcomed back if she learned silence. Nathan stepped onto the stage beside him. My husband took the microphone. I also want to say something, he said. My family has been through a difficult week. I won't pretend I handled everything perfectly. A murmur of approval. He was handsome. Contrite enough. Not too much. The room wanted him salvageable. He looked at me. I love my wife, he said. The room turned. My skin went cold. I know she is hurt. Nathan continued. I know she has felt unseen, but I hope tonight can be a step toward healing privately, with respect for everyone involved. Elise stood at the edge of the stage in my pearls. Healing privately, respect for everyone. He had not even said my name. Maria leaned toward me. Your choice. I looked at the screen behind Nathan. It displayed a slideshow of family photos. Richard with Nathan as a child, Celeste at a gala, Paige at graduation, Nathan and Elise in college, young and golden, standing too close. No wedding photo, no me. My choice became very simple. I walked to Matteo. Now, I said. He nodded and moved to the AV table. The slideshow cut out. The screen went black. Then the first document appeared, the Langford Hotel invoice, paid by Ava Montgomery. A rustle moved through the ballroom. Nathan turned toward the screen. His face went white. I walked to the stage. No one stopped me. Maybe because I moved like I belonged there. Maybe because, for once, I did. Maria followed and handed me a second microphone. I turned it on. My name is Ava Montgomery, I said, not emotional strain, not temporary family issue, not ceremonial spouse. The room went silent. Nathan stepped toward me. Ava. I lifted a hand. No, you had the microphone. He stopped. I looked at Richard. You said misunderstandings grow when private hurt is made public. Let's correct that. This was not private hurt. This was public humiliation. The screen changed. Original seating chart. Ava beside Nathan. Elise at table 4. Then revised seating chart. Elise beside Nathan. Ava at table 11. Then the email note per Nathan. Elise beside me. Move Ava wherever there is room. Mom agrees. The room reacted this time. A real sound. Shock. Whispering. Chairs shifting. Celeste gripped the edge of the lectern. Richard closed his eyes. Elise stepped back from Nathan. I continued. I did not misunderstand my seat. It was moved by instruction. My place as wife was given to Nathan's former girlfriend, and when I objected, I was told to be reasonable. The screen changed again. A still image from the hotel corridor. Nathan's hand on my arm, then a transcript. Let go. You are acting insane. A woman near the front covered her mouth. Nathan's voice came low. Stop. I looked at him. You told investors I was under emotional strain. You told people my financial decisions may not reflect my long-term intentions. You tried to turn my boundaries into symptoms while using my money as stability. The screen changed. Bridge note summary. Lender, Ava Montgomery Trust. Entity, borrower, Whitmore Studio Group. Repayment upon written demand. Then Nathan's email to investors. My wife has been under considerable emotional strain. One investor near the bar turned to another. I saw recognition, then discomfort. Graham stared at the floor. I looked at the room. I do not owe silence to people who spent my money, used my house, moved my seat, called me unstable, and tried to keep my resources while removing my name. Elise suddenly spoke. This is cruel, she said. Her voice trembled beautifully. I turned to her. The camera operator Richard had hired for the event slowly angled toward us. I almost thanked him. Elise Park, I said, was not an innocent guest. The screen changed. Her email. I don't want Ava to feel pushed out, but Nathan said this would mean a lot to Richard. Elise's face collapsed. Someone whispered, oh my God. I looked at her throat, and since we are discussing what belongs where, I said, Elise is currently wearing a necklace removed from my home. A louder reaction now. Elise grabbed the pearls. I didn't know. You said Nathan gave it to you. She looked at Nathan. Nathan looked trapped. Maria stepped forward. Voice cool. Formal demand for return of personal property has already been issued. Counsel for Mr. Whitmore denied removal or gifting. This statement was false. Bennett Cole, standing near the back, looked as if he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. Celeste's voice cracked across the stage. Ava, enough. I turned to her. No. Enough was when you moved me. Enough was when you spent my money. Enough was when you called me greedy for stopping. Enough was when your daughter posted lies. Enough was when your son tried to gag me with a standstill agreement. This is not enough. This is the receipt. Richard gripped the lectern. Ava, he said, voice rough, please. That word landed differently now, not as command, as defeat. I looked at him. You saw me at the service table. I said. He swallowed. Yes, and said nothing. He looked down. The room saw that too. That was the moment Richard Whitmore lost the story, not because I accused him, because he could not deny me. Nathan took one step toward me. I love you. The sentence hung there, naked and useless. I looked at him. No, I said, you loved having me. His face broke, not fully. Nathan was still Nathan. He would protect his pride until it starved him. But something cracked open enough for everyone to see. I made mistakes, he said. You made choices. I can fix this. You can sign. He flinched. I reached into Maria's folder and removed the final notice. This is formal notice, I said, into the microphone, that my repayment demand stands, my divorce filing proceeds, all statements regarding my mental or financial capacity must be corrected in writing, all personal property must be returned, all future contact goes through counsel. I placed the notice on the lectern in front of Richard. Happy second birthday dinner, I said. Then I walked down from the stage. No one blocked me. Elise tried to follow Nathan, but he did not look at her. Celeste sat down as if her knees had failed. Paige stared at her phone. probably watching the first clips spread faster than dignity could catch them. Laura Bell stepped into my path near the exit for a moment. I braced, then she took my hand. "I'm sorry," she said. "I should have asked more questions that night." "Most people should," she nodded. "Yes." Outside the ballroom, the hotel corridor was quiet. I could still hear the murmurs behind me. Maria walked beside me. June caught up and exhaled. "Well," she said, "that was not ceremonial." For the first time in a week, I laughed. Then my phone buzzed. "Graham," the message was short. "Investors are requesting immediate disclosure. Nathan is losing Harborline." I looked back once at the ballroom doors behind them. Nathan Whitmore was surrounded by everything he had tried to keep: his family, his old love, his investors, his lies. For years, I had held the table steady. Now I had let go. The next morning, Whitmore Studio lost Harborline. Not officially, not yet. Official losses came dressed in phrases like pending review and reassessment of financial assurances. But Graham called me at 8:17 and said, "It's gone," in the voice of a man who knew the difference between legal status and reality. I sat at my dining table with the phone on speaker and Maria across from me. She had arrived with bagels, black coffee, and a stack of documents thick enough to stun a horse. "What happened?" I asked. "The city requested updated capital verification by noon," Graham said. "Nathan couldn't provide it without acknowledging the trust note and your demand. 2 investors froze additional support until reputational issues are resolved." The lead partner asked whether Nathan had misrepresented the source of bridge capital. Maria looked at me and wrote, "Disclosure failure." Graham continued, "Bennett is advising him to correct the record." "Is Nathan listening?" Maria asked. A pause. "No, of course Nathan would negotiate with a burning building before admitting he had lit the match." "What is he doing?" I asked. "Calling Richard, calling investors, calling Elise." I looked up. "Elise? She's trying to distance herself." June, sitting at the far end of the table with a laptop and the moral fury of a courtroom sketch artist, snorted. Chair got hot. Graham hesitated. "There's something else." Maria's pen lifted. "Say it," she said. "Nathan asked whether we could characterize Ava's funding as marital contribution rather than formal debt." Maria's face went still. "After counsel received the demand, yes, in writing. He asked verbally, 'Did anyone else hear?' Yes, me and Priya from legal. Preserve it." I already sent myself a contemporaneous note. I could have kissed Graham on the forehead, not romantically, administratively. After the call, Maria leaned back. "He is still trying to have it both ways," she said. "No lender rights, full lender benefit. Can he? Not if we keep the record clean." My phone buzzed. "Nathan." I did not answer. He called again, then a message appeared. "Please, just talk to me. No lawyers, no audience. I know I hurt you." June looked over. Translation: "My lawyer told me I'm losing." Maria said, "Do not respond." I did not. At 10, Richard called. I let it go to voicemail. At 10:15, Celeste sent a text, "You have destroyed Richard's reputation." I saved it. At 10:20, Paige texted, "People are messaging me like I did something. This is sick." I saved it. At 10:31, Elise texted from another unknown number, "I didn't know the necklace was yours. Nathan said it was from his grandmother." "I'm sorry." June leaned over my shoulder. "Do we believe her?" "No," Maria said. "Belief is irrelevant. We request return." I replied through counsel only, then blocked the number. At noon, Bennett Cole sent a revised proposal. It was the first document from Nathan's side that looked like fear instead of arrogance. Written correction regarding my role as lender. Partial repayment schedule, return of personal property, temporary use agreement for Nathan's belongings to be removed from Montgomery House. Acknowledgement that no party would make further public statements about my mental state. Still no signed divorce. Maria read it and circled the missing piece. "He's trying to separate the financial collapse from the marital surrender. He wants the money cleaned up before signing." "Yes, why?" "Because signing means he can't pretend this is temporary." I looked at the empty ring box on the table. I had placed my wedding ring inside it that morning, not for drama, for storage. It looked smaller in velvet than it had felt on my hand. What do? We accept nothing without divorce progress. At 1, I drove to Maison Vale with Maria, the manager, a woman named Sabine, met us in a private office lined with wine certificates. She looked nervous but professional. I received your request, she said. Maria placed the photo of Nathan and Elise on the desk. We need to confirm whether Ms. Park was represented as Ava Montgomery Whitmore during this dinner. Sabine looked at the photo and winced. I was not working that evening, she said, but I reviewed the reservation notes. She turned her monitor toward us. Reservation, Whitmore Studio private dinner, host, Mr. and Mrs. Nathan Whitmore, guest count, 8. Special instruction, Mrs. Whitmore prefers sparkling water, no lime. My preference. My name. Elise's neck. My pearls. My stomach rolled. Maria's voice remained calm. Can you provide a certified copy? Yes, I am sorry, our staff believed. I understand, I said. Though I did not know that was not true. I understood too well. Nathan had not only wanted Elise near him, he had wanted the world to accept her in my place without the inconvenience of divorce. He wanted the wife role filled by one woman's body and another woman's resources. That was not confusion, that was theft of identity in social form. We left with the reservation record in the parking garage. Maria stopped beside the car. This is powerful, she said. It feels filthy. It is both. I leaned against the door. He gave her my necklace so she could pass as me. Yes. Was he ashamed of me or trying to keep me? Maria considered. Both. Perhaps. He wanted your function without your presence. That sentence entered me like a key. Your function without your presence. That was the whole marriage. By the end, at 3, Celeste arrived at Montgomery House alone. I saw her on the camera before she rang. She looked different without the family formation, smaller, maybe, or simply less armored. Her hair was still perfect, her coat still expensive, but her face had lost the smooth authority she wore in rooms where people feared her opinion. Maria was still with me. Do you want to answer? She asked. Yes. I opened the inner door. Celeste stood outside, hands clasped around her purse. Ava, she said, may I come in? No, her mouth tightened, but she absorbed it. Then I'll speak here. Fine. She looked up and down the street. Could you at least turn off the recording? No, her eyes flashed. Must everything be evidence now? With you? Yes. She looked wounded. I did not help her with it. I came to ask you to reconsider. She said, no, you haven't heard me. I know the genre. Her lips thinned. Richard's friends are calling. Paige is being harassed online. Nathan's firm may lose the project. Elise has disappeared. Do you understand what this has done? Yes, and you feel nothing. I feel many things. Responsibility for your comfort is no longer one of them. Celeste's eyes filled. It surprised me. I had seen her angry, cold, triumphant, offended. I had rarely seen her cry. When Celeste cried, it was usually because a florist had used the wrong shade of cream. I was hard on you, she said. I waited. I see that now. Do you? She swallowed. I wanted Nathan to have a wife who understood the family. I understood. You resisted. I paid. She flinched. I hosted your dinners, I said. I remembered Richard's appointments. I got Paige's rent paid. I covered your accounts. I built rooms where your family looked generous. I understood perfectly. I just mistook service for belonging. Celeste looked down for a moment. She seemed old. Then she said, Elise would never have lasted. I laughed once. Softly. That was her apology. Not I was wrong, not you deserved better. Elise would never have lasted. As if I should be comforted that my replacement was lower quality. I don't care, I said. Celeste looked up. You should. Nathan will come back to you when this clears. No, he is confused. He is consequences. She stiffened. You are still his wife. Temporarily. Do vows mean nothing? They meant more when I was the only one keeping them. She gripped her purse harder. What will it take? For what? For you to stop. I looked at her. There it was. Not heal, not forgive, not understand. Stop. I stop when the divorce is signed, the debt is acknowledged, my property is returned, and your family stops lying. Her face hardened again. Tears gone, steel returned. So money, no, boundaries. Money is just where your family finally feels them. She stepped back from the door. You are crueler than I thought. No, I said. You just benefited from my kindness longer than you deserved. I closed the door. My knees weakened immediately. Maria caught my elbow. Sit, she said. I'm fine. You are upright. That is not the same. I sat at 6. Bennett emailed Nathan would sign the correction at 7. The correction arrived. It was not enough. Maria marked it up at 8. Elise returned the pearls through a courier. The necklace arrived in a padded envelope with no note. The pearls felt cold in my palm. I cleaned them myself, slowly, with a soft cloth and shaking hands. At 9, Graham called. Nathan knows Elise returned the necklace, he said. How? She texted him that she won't be dragged into his divorce. June clapped once. Hot chair, hot. Necklace, Graham continued. He's coming to you. Maria stood. Ava, do not open the door. I won't. At 9:34, Nathan appeared on the camera. He looked wrecked. No coat, hair wet from rain, tie loosened. In his right hand, he held a folder. He rang once, then looked up at the camera. I signed, he said. My heart stopped. Maria moved beside me. Nathan lifted the folder. I signed the correction. I'll sign the divorce if you let me talk to you first. June muttered. That is literally not how signing works, Maria said. He's bargaining with closure. Nathan's voice came through the speaker again. Ava, please, I need you to hear me. I looked at him on the screen. This man had been my husband, my lover, my partner in photographs, the person who once warmed his hands around mine in winter, the person who had sat beside my mother's hospital bed and promised her he would take care of me. He had also moved me wherever there was room. Both were true. That was the cruelty of endings. They did not erase the beginning. They forced it to stand beside the end and explain itself. I pressed the intercom. You can leave the folder in the mail slot. His face crumpled with anger and grief. That's it. Yes, 9 years, and I'm a mail slot. No, I said, 9 years, and I'm finally a locked door. He stared at the camera. Then he lowered his head. For one moment, I thought he might leave. Instead, he said the one thing I had not expected. I never slept with her. The sentence fell into the hallway. June froze. Maria's expression did not change. I closed my eyes. Not because I believed him, because it no longer mattered enough. I opened them. Nathan, I said, you gave her my life and called it not cheating. He looked up. Rain ran down his face. I continued, that is worse than you understand. He placed the folder through the mail slot. It fell onto the rug with a soft slap. Then he stood there, waiting. I did not open the door. After a long time, he walked away. The next morning, the city formally paused Harborline. By afternoon, Whitmore Studio announced a restructuring. By evening, Richard Whitmore resigned from 2 boards to focus on family, and by midnight, Nathan finally signed the divorce response. The day Nathan signed the final divorce agreement, the conference room was full of sunlight that felt almost rude. I had expected storms, grey skies, a cinematic atmosphere equal to the wreckage. Instead, light poured through Maria's windows and landed across the polished table, bright enough to show every fingerprint on the glass pitcher, every staple in the documents, every tired line on Nathan's face. He sat across from me in a dark suit. No Elise, no Celeste, no Richard, no family formation, just Nathan, Bennett, Maria, and me. For the first time in weeks, he looked like a man instead of a performance. That did not make me soften. It made me sadder. Bennett reviewed the final terms in a voice that had done this too many times to mistake ceremony for meaning. Dissolution uncontested, no claim to Montgomery House, return of personal property acknowledged, public correction issued, bridge note repayment schedule secured by assigned receivables and personal guarantee from Nathan, mutual non-disparagement limited by truth and legal necessity, no admission of intentional wrongdoing except where specified in the property addendum, separate accounts confirmed, family expenses ended, legal fees partially reimbursed, signature required. Maria slid the pen toward me first. Nathan looked up sharply. Perhaps he expected to sign first, perhaps he thought the ending belonged to him because he had resisted it longest. I took the pen. The document was thick. My name appeared again and again, Ava Montgomery Whitmore on page 1. I paused, then I signed, Ava Montgomery. Maria had prepared the caption that way. Nathan noticed. His face tightened. I signed every tab, not quickly, not dramatically. I read the line above each signature because I did that now. When I finished, I placed the pen down and pushed the packet toward Maria. She checked each page, then handed it across the table. Nathan stared at the documents. Bennett murmured, Nathan. He picked up the pen. For a moment, I remembered the first time I saw him sign something. We were 25, a lease on a tiny apartment with bad windows and a view of a brick wall. He had drawn a little house beside his name and whispered, First Empire. I had laughed so hard the landlord smiled. That memory sat beside this one without cancelling it. Nathan signed, Nathan Whitmore, again, his hand slowed near the final page, then he looked at me. I am sorry, he said. The room went still, no flowers, no porch, no audience, no standstill agreement hidden beneath the words, just the sentence. I believed that he meant it in that moment. I also knew a true apology could arrive too late to repair what caused it. I know, I said. Pain moved across his face. Do you? Yes. Then why does it feel like nothing changed? Because sorry is not a key. He looked down at the pen. I loved you, he said. I know that too. His eyes lifted. I let the truth stand clean between us. You loved me in the ways that were easy for you. I said, you loved my steadiness, my house, my planning, my money when you called it support, my silence when you called it grace. But you did not love my dignity enough to protect it when it cost you something. He closed his eyes. Bennett looked away. Maria did not. Nathan signed the last page. The sound of the pen against paper was small. The ending was not after the agreement was executed. Bennett gathered Nathan's copies. Maria gathered mine. No one shook hands at the door. Nathan stopped. What happens now? He asked. I looked at him. For me, he nodded. I go home. His face twisted. To Montgomery House. Yes, and after that, I almost said, that is no longer your concern. But cruelty was not freedom. I did not need to wound him to leave him. After that, I said, I live in rooms where my name stays on the door. He swallowed, then he left. The house was quiet when I returned. Montgomery House had changed in small ways over the past few weeks. Nathan's suits were gone from the upstairs closet. His architecture books were boxed and picked up. The framed photo from our wedding had been removed from the mantel and placed in a storage box labeled archive, because I was not ready to throw away proof of my own past just to look strong for no one. In the dining room, the file boxes remained, but now they looked less like weapons and more like history. June arrived with paint samples because she believed all emotional transformations required practical mess. You need a studio, she said, spreading colors across the table. Not a war room, a studio. I already have a studio. You have a dining room with trauma binders. That is fair. She held up a warm white. This one says clean slate without looking like a dentist office. I smiled. You've thought about this. I've been waiting to redecorate your pain for years. We spent the afternoon moving boxes into the study. I kept the legal documents in a locked cabinet. I kept my mother's trust papers in the safe. I kept the pearls in a drawer lined with blue velvet. I did not wear them, not yet. At 4, Maria emailed the final filing confirmation. At 5, Laura Bell called. I wanted you to hear from me directly, she said. The Harrington Foundation Board voted today. Elise Park will not be considered for any committee role. I looked toward the garden, where winter light caught the bare hydrangeas. I didn't ask for that, I said. No, her own conduct did. Also, several donors were uncomfortable with the misrepresentation at the Langford. Thank you for telling me, Ava. Yes, I am sorry I let politeness make me passive. That sentence mattered more than she knew. Thank you, I said. At 6. Graham sent an update. Whitmore Studio had lost Harborline permanently. Nathan would keep the firm alive, perhaps, but smaller, much smaller. 2 partners were leaving. Investors wanted independent oversight. The narrative of Whitmore brilliance had become Whitmore instability, and not because I had said so, because documents had. At 7, Richard left a voicemail. I listened to it once. Ava, he said, voice thin, I owe you an apology, not for the scandal, for the chair, for seeing you there and choosing comfort over courage. I cannot undo it. I am sorry. I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time, then I saved the voicemail. I did not call back. Forgiveness, I had learned, was not a doorbell I had to answer. At 8. Celeste sent a handwritten note by courier. It was beautiful stationery, thick cream paper, her handwriting elegant as ever. Ava, I see now that I mistook your generosity for obligation. I cannot say this well. I am sorry, Celeste. June read it over my shoulder. Do we frame it or burn it? She asked. Neither. I placed it in the archive box. Not every apology needed a reply. Some only needed to stop moving. Paige did not apologize. That also felt honest. Elise never contacted me again. A month later, I heard she had left the city for a job in Boston that sounded impressive and temporary. Nathan did not follow, the pearls stayed in the drawer, spring came slowly, the garden behind Montgomery House woke one stubborn inch at a time, green points broke through the soil, the hydrangeas took pruning better than I expected. June helped me repaint the dining room, and I turned it into a design studio with wide tables, fabric samples, client boards, and shelves for old books. The first client meeting I held there was with a woman opening a community art space in Queens. She walked through the house and said, "This place feels safe." I had to look away for a second. "It is," I said. The divorce became final on a Tuesday morning. Maria called. "It's done," she said. I was standing in the studio, holding a roll of linen wallpaper. I waited for a wave to knock me over. It did not. Instead, something unclenched quietly like a fist opening underwater. "Thank you," I said. "You did the work. You helped me." Red, that is not small. "No," I said, "it isn't." After the call, I took my wedding ring from the velvet box. It looked ordinary now, a gold circle, a promise that had not survived contact with truth. I did not throw it in the river. I did not sell it that day. I placed it in an envelope with a note to myself. This was real. So was leaving. Then I put it away. That evening, I went back to the Langford, not for the Whitmores, for myself. I sat in the lobby cafe where Matteo had given me the seating chart, and I ordered tea. He came by near the end of his shift and smiled when he saw me. "MS. Montgomery," he said. The name sounded clean in his voice. "Matteo, how are you?" I thought about lying politely, then I chose not to. "Better," I said. "Not perfect. Better." He nodded. "That's good." I looked toward the ballroom doors. They were closed for another event. Laughter floated faintly through the walls. Another family, another table, another performance. "Do you ever get tired of seeing people arrange themselves by importance?" I asked. He smiled sadly. "Every day. I used to think the place at the table proved love, and now, I looked down at my hands, no ring, no trembling. Now I think love is who notices when you're missing." Matteo's eyes softened. When I left, I did not look back at the ballroom outside. The city was cold and bright. A line of taxis waited by the curb. People hurried past in coats, carrying flowers, shopping bags, briefcases, whole lives I knew nothing about. My phone buzzed, a message from Nathan. I almost deleted it unread, then I opened it. "I saw you at the Langford. You looked happy." I stared at the screen. I had not seen him. That felt like the final answer. Another message appeared. "I hope one day we can talk without lawyers." I typed nothing. A third message. "I miss my wife." I looked at that sentence for a long time, then I blocked his number, not in anger, not in triumph, in peace. The car arrived. I got in, gave the driver my address, and watched the Langford disappear behind us. At home, June had left a bag of takeout on my kitchen counter with a note, "For the woman who kept the house." I laughed, then cried a little, then ate noodles standing barefoot in my own kitchen. Later, I walked through every room and turned on the lights: the entryway, the studio, the sitting room, the bedroom, the closet where my pearls slept in blue velvet, the garden door, the staircase, my mother's photo near the lamp. No one had to approve the brightness, no one had to be comfortable with my presence, no one had to make room. I already had it. I stood in the middle of the studio, surrounded by fabric, paint, invoices, and the quiet aftermath of a life returned to its owner. I had not left empty-handed. I had taken back my name, my house, my money, my evidence, my silence, my voice. And the next time someone invited me to a table, I would not ask where I belonged. I would look at the chair, look at the company, and decide whether they deserved me.